very short period of time, which caused the destruction that you see behind us today. We had significant flash flooding across Lake County, particularly in Mount Dora and Eustis, with multiple vehicle rescues, road closures, and infrastructure impacts. We are in ongoing coordination with our municipal partners as the county, and we are also working with FDOT, FDEP. We have also been working with the executive director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management to make sure that we can get recovered as quickly as we can from these impacts from the storm last night. In terms of the folks that were rescued, we did house up to 12 residents until about 1:45 in the morning. We were able to partner with a local faith-based partner, and they were able to take those folks in until they could get to where they needed to go. In terms of the roadway damage, the stormwater systems were overwhelmed. That caused the erosion and the road washout that you're seeing. Donnelly Street was completely destroyed because of these 19 inches of rain, and it will remain closed until further notice. Wolf Branch was also affected, so that is between Round Lake Road and Britt Road. Round Lake is currently open, but it does have water on it, so please use caution. In terms of our critical infrastructure, wastewater, reclaimed water, and drinking water systems all sustained damage. The entire city of Mount Dora is currently under a boil water notice. It does take about 48 hours for lab testing to confirm that that water is safe again, so please be patient as that process works itself out. Drinking water service is restored citywide, but that boil water notice does remain in effect. Wastewater line options are being assessed. Reclaimed water systems remain offline or limited. There is significant repair time that's associated, mostly due to part shortages and systems damage. So again, we're working with our municipal partners, and they are working very hard to make sure that this gets repaired as soon as possible. Again, we experienced complete washouts and mass system failures due to this heavy rain. Waterman Village had a stormwater breach that contributed to the Donnelly Street collapse, and combined with stormwater flow and downtown, it just got overwhelmed in the drainage network. Sediment analysis actually is showing that Donnelly Street was about 6 to 8 feet underwater at the peak flooding, which caused a lot of this damage. As of right now, because of the street closures, all of the downtown Mount Dora businesses are being affected. We are working with our business partners and again state partners to make sure that we are assisting those businesses to the best of our capabilities. And that is the update that I have to share about the collaboration and coordination we have as an ongoing response to this incident. And now I will introduce Congressman Randy Fine.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me today. Because the government is shut down, I'm not in Washington, I'm home. So when I heard about the issues here in my district, I wanted to come over and see them. And I wanted to tell everyone here that we will be committed to do what we can at the federal level to help with the infrastructure issues. And I'm grateful not only to my staff that is here, but to the FEMA staff that we have coordinated with, all of whom are working unpaid thanks to the Democrats' decision to shut down the government. And I do want people to understand something, because they should be very angry about this. If your home was flooded and you had federal flood insurance, FEMA is closed because Democrats have voted 12 times to keep the federal government closed in order to give free health care to illegal immigrants. So when we talk about the damage that they are doing to regular Americans, we can see it today. So what I would tell people to do is, if you're having a problem with your federal flood insurance because the lines are not open, they are not operating today, the federal flood insurance program is not working, they can call my office and we will try to help them as best we can. Again, with my staff that is working, as all federal government employees are, working without being paid. But I want people to know that we are committed to working with Lake County, with the city of Mount Dora, the city of Eustis, to make sure once the government reopens, if the Democrats ever choose to reopen it, to make sure that they have the resources that they need to respond to this disaster. And hopefully we can finish this before God rains on us again. Thank you.
All right, as was stated, we had some significant rain damage. You only see one small section behind me. Waterman Village has two basically 40-foot ravines destroyed behind the homes. So we've evacuated close to 20 homes in Waterman Village. Waterman Village took care of their residents, and they have them housed elsewhere. But there are currently a number of homeowners that aren't able to return to their homes safely until we get the bank stabilized. That's 5 feet, basically 5 feet behind their houses, drops off 40 feet. It's all wet, and so it's continuing erosion. Over here on Old Eustis Road, we have a washout. The Florida Department of Emergency Management is on site. They've been getting drone pictures, trying to assess all the damage. We're going to be able to repair what we can quickly, but obviously, looking behind me, this is not going to be open anytime soon. We kind of, in Mount Dora, we have all of our hills, which is a very different thing that other people, because all our water just flows in one direction downhill. And that's what you see with these washouts. Our topography is very different than most of Florida, so we have problems that they saw in the mountains with the other hurricanes, that massive amount of water. So luckily no one was injured, and we're here today to answer any questions you have about it. But we will be working hard going forward trying to fix the damage, but it's going to take state effort and county effort and other things. So I'll take any questions.
Mayor, can you speak to the timing of this? I mean, we've got the holidays coming up, and this is one of the main thoroughfares heading into downtown.
It will not be open for Christmas. I can almost guarantee that. It's a major project. As you see, it almost requires a bridge to get across that ravine now. So it's not something you see in Florida often, but certainly we're looking at a year at least until we get the major infrastructure. So.
And can you speak also, we've had some residents reaching out saying, hey, look, we're concerned about this development on 441 around the curve where the old orange groves were, that may have contributed to this flooding. Would the city have a stance on that?
Well, no, not at this time. Obviously, there's a lot of factors. I told about the Waterman breaches of the stormwater there, so we don't know exactly what all caused it, but there's water coming from every direction, and so we haven't made a full assessment of what contributed to the damage, but that water came from everywhere and took out a road. So,
Mayor, a lot of residents have expressed frustration going back to Wolf Branch. The same section washed out almost a year ago from Hurricane Milton, and now we're dealing with the same section being washed out again. It's a pretty big traffic problem. Where does the city go from here? And what's your message to residents who are feeling that frustration?
Well, that's not a city-maintained road, so it's county-maintained. They're out there now working on it. I was out there to see it. It's a problem that we have constructed roads and houses in floodplains and it was dry for a while here for a couple decades, and people started building where they shouldn't. So, but I mean, that's been here since I was a kid. So, and it's obviously an event that hasn't occurred in at least how many years? 50 years.
When you say people building where they shouldn't, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I think the county purchased a home that was constantly flooded during the storms to help with the stormwater management. But that's something to be directed at the county. So,
Megan,
did you guys have the first responders have to rescue people out of the cars? The cars stalled out.
Yes, I'll let Chief Hightower speak to that.
I'm Joe Hightower. I'm Fire Chief, City of Mount Dora. Yes, during the peak of the event last night, we did have multiple rescues in progress. Actually, here behind us was one. Had several on Pine Avenue, and then in other parts of the city. Fortunately, we had no injuries or fatalities. So outside of just the rescues, that's all that we were able to do.
Can you describe what happened in that rescue behind us?
So the occupant was able to get out of the vehicle on their own prior to, obviously, the car going off the ravine. So walked out, and we went in to make sure that before the car did leave the road that there were no other occupants inside the vehicle to verify.
And then you removed the car today?
Yes, they had a company come in and to remove the car.
What was that like? What did it look like?
was you here. I currently was not here. I've seen a few pictures, probably just a normal like they do on any accident scene.
Megan, would you mind speaking to Wolf Branch and how long it's looking like that road? Commissioner Mayor saying a year about, give or take for this road, but for Wolf Branch too. It's a major thoroughfare in the county.
It is, and it's difficult to give a complete time frame of what that's going to look like. I can tell you we are currently working hand in hand with the Florida Division of Emergency Management. They are in my EOC right now, working with our local hydrologists and engineers on how we can better fix that road moving forward.
Is there any look at maybe like a temporary fix to that?
That I would not have an answer to at this time. It is an ongoing discussion that we're having as to what the best course of action is going to be moving forward.
Any advice that you have for the residents that will worry for what can happen on the next phase?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Any advice that you can bring to the residents that is close to here and we're worried for what can happen on the next phase?
Yeah, if we have additional rainfall today and we have additional high water situations, we're actually working on a solution to make sure that does not happen again for this particular event that we may be expecting to see this afternoon as we hear the thunder above us right now. So we are actively working on flood mitigation measures for that. And then moving forward, any advice to residents is just if there is high water coming onto your property or if you see it in your area and you're driving, definitely do not drive into that flood water. We don't want to see additional residents have to be rescued from their vehicles. So just shelter in place until you can't anymore, in which case call for a first responder to help you.
Is there any estimate with how many structures, either this would be a question for you or a question for Mayor, have seen water incursion? Is there any kind of estimate, even just people driving around eyeballing?
I know for us, countywide, we are actively working on those damage assessment numbers. So we are encouraging residents, if they had water incursion and did not call our first response or our dispatch agency at the time that it was occurring, they can now call our citizens information line until 7 p.m. tonight, and we are assessing the need for it further into the week as well. But as of right now, we are asking residents to give us a call if they did see that kind of damage to their homes, so that we can make a record of it and start that damage assessment process and get that information to the state as well.
Do you have that line, the phone line off the top of your head? Or?
It's 352-253-9999.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For those people living in Waterman Village that can't go home right now, any estimate on when they'll be able to return?
No, we don't have an estimate because we don't have the engineering to determine when we can stabilize the bank. So, I mean, that's the first step. But hopefully we can save all the homes so they can return. But the timeline is out of our control right now. We got to figure out how to stabilize it.
And who's rehousing them? Was that Red Cross?
No, the Waterman Village.
Okay.
It's a private entity and all the homes there, so they're taking care of their residents. Around town, there's been several homes that have been water intrusion. As I was driving around Waterman Village up at the top of the hill on the other side, there was water flowing into homes. People had their carpets out, so we're not even close to getting a full assessment of how many homes were affected by this.
Mayor, where does the city go from here? A year without Donnelly, a year without businesses being impacted in historic downtown Mount Dora. Is this a sign that, our municipalities here in Central Florida need to take a really long, hard look at their infrastructure?
Well, I mean, this is something that we had planned for a boardwalk on the side that got washed out in Milton, and that was out for bids right now. That we pulled those bids because we got a whole new project we've got to bid. But we're working with Department of Transportation. There's a new access road, Fiddler. It's Grandview all the way to downtown and to the limit here. And we're trying to get a light up on 441 so that it can allow an alternate route into downtown. So I don't think it'll be that much of a problem getting around here. Luckily, we've got these new roads built that will allow people to go around the hole in the ground there.
Do you think you'll take a new approach when it comes to improving infrastructure and increasing resiliency here in Mount Dora?
Well, I mean, we're always looking at that, but I mean, this is going to take a whole new redesign in order to deal with it. It's a very wet area. There's spring. There's all sorts of water issues, but to say what we need to do right now is beyond me. You may see a bridge here in a couple of years. I don't know. So.
When the sun came up this morning and you were able to see this really for the first time, what was your reaction?
After seeing the rainfall, it didn't surprise me too much. I mean, you're going to get washouts, but it was a bit shocking. Having, like I said, when I was here at 10 years old in 1970, this was the one big hill in the area. So, but all the water obviously went right down there and started to just too much water. You can't plan for a 1,000-year flood.
I do have a question for Chief Gibson, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
A lot of road closures here in Mount Dora throughout Lake County. What's the police department's plan to keep people safe, to keep traffic moving? I mean, just getting around from one end of Wolf Branch to the other where the closure is. Can't use 46 right now. Hopefully that's going to dry up. But it took an extra 21 minutes.
Sure, absolutely. For those that don't know who I am, my name's Mike Gibson. I'm the police chief here at the city of Mount Dora. To your point, let me clear up one other thing. Mount Dora is open for business. There are 20 other access points, ways to get into the city. Of course, this is a primary road. It's devastating. We need to get it open, but there are plenty of other areas to come into Mount Dora. We're working the plan right now. We've all ready to come up with some tentative plans to route all the traffic on Mount Dora, down Fiddler to Grandview, right into downtown Mount Dora. So they're not easy fixes. It's a lot of traffic on smaller roadways, but we're going to do it. We'll get the job done. So just remember, Mount Dora is open for business.
Yep. Well, if there's no further questions, we'll wrap this up. And if any of our residents have any problem with any flood intrusion, make sure they call the city, let us know about it. We're still assessing damage, and there's other pockets that we need to assess. So just the word out to.
One question for Randy. What kind of federal aid might be coming?
The question is what kind of federal aid might be coming. The answer is nothing until the Democrats reopen the government.
All right, you've been listening to leaders in Lake County, Mount Dora specifically, talk about what they have been experiencing since all the rain and flooding in that area, particularly Donnelly Street, which leaders say is destroyed. And you hear our own community correspondent in Lake County, Emily McLeod, who's on the ground there in Lake County constantly, asking about Wolf Branch Road, which also suffered extensive damage during Hurricane Milton, almost in that exact same spot. And she's also inquiring about the safety of the community there, but you heard the police chief say that everything is safe, that Mount Dora is open for business, and they will continue to operate as normal. But there is a boil water notice. We want to point that out. Said everything's running fine, but you just have to boil that water, and that will be in effect for the next 24 to 48 hours. Of course, we will continue to keep a close eye on this developing situation, still very fluid in more ways than one. All right, we want to get you over to meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, who has been watching this. You're looking at Wolf Branch right there that Emily was talking about that gets washed out almost with every big storm. The last time was Milton. These pictures are just incredible to see, Jonathan. What are we in store for again tonight?
Yeah, the good news is while the rain will likely be heavy in spots, they're not going to sit on top of one area. There's going to be a little more movement with these tonight. We are watching some of the heavier downpours coming back into the Eustis, Mount Dora area. The light green represents the lighter rain, some heavier downpour towards Mount Homer, where we were just taking a live look at through Mount Dora. We have some of the heavier rain coming through from west to east to Tavares. We are getting that right now. Of course, the other spots that had big time flooding last night were right along the Space Coast in Brevard County. We are on the dry side right now, but we are going to watch things fill in as a cold front works from northwest to southeast over the next couple of hours. That will turn off the spigot for quite some time. But until that happens, again, we're just going to be doing a lot of dodging tonight with the heavier rain. But we know it's not going to take much, especially if the rain falls on areas that picked up impressive amounts of rain last night. Some places near 20 inches. Eustis, official numbers coming in at 19.12 inches of rain. Mount Dora at about 17.86 inches of rain. Port St. John at about 15.5. Titusville about 14.5. And then Port Canaveral almost 14.5 as well. So just some impressive rainfall totals again happening last night. The map kind of tells the story here when we look at where the radar estimates were in this dark purple and the red from about Mims to Titusville, Merritt Island, Port St. John. That was one of the heaviest spots. And then also down West Orange County into Winter Garden, Ocoee, we picked up several inches of rain, more than 4 to 5 inches of rain in parts of Winter Garden through Ocoee down to Lake Apopka itself. And then certainly where you see that white shaded color there, right around Eustis, Mount Dora, Umatilla, that's where you picked up that 12 plus inches of rain. A lot of people asking about how this can happen. We didn't have a hurricane, of course, come through the area. Well, you may have felt the humidity ramp up last night or really yesterday afternoon. That was a warm front sliding back through central Florida. So that's, if you will, the trigger. We had all this tropical moisture then surge back in out ahead of the front because out ahead of warm fronts, you normally get the breeze out of the east and northeast. So we had about the 75th percentile in terms of atmospheric moisture available. So that was very unseasonably moist, if you will, for the setup yesterday. So this front comes through, that's the trigger mechanism, and not only got those thunderstorms going yesterday, it kind of stalled out over central Florida, so it kept them there. But as that happens, you get what we call training, just like trains on a track. You get thunderstorms then build and build and build off one another and then pretty much just stay over one area for a certain amount of time. That's what we had going on. Of course, the upper level winds weren't that favorable either, so those storms were very slow moving. So it was kind of the combination of unseasonably moist air in the atmosphere for the playing ground, if you will, for these storms to take advantage of. And then that warm front not only being the trigger, but the pathway for those storms to build on one another once again. Now, what we have going on here, warm fronts typically are slow moving. The cold fronts, not so much. While we will get some heavy rain out of the deal, and we showed you that on the radar, that front now is pushing through. You see all the lightning extending back towards the Big Bend. So a couple of rounds to go through the rest of the evening. So we're going to be watching that flood threat for the rest of the evening. And then finally, once this front passes, you see those white lines. That's the drier air coming back in out of the deep south. That'll eventually work its way back into central Florida. The other thing that we're watching, this is more of kind of the slow water rise flood of this event. We do have the opportunity for flooding along the St. Johns and the expectation of that. We have the gauges in and around Sanford, DeLand, and also above Lake Harney now expected to get into minor flood stage over the next couple of days. So taking it gauge by gauge here, this is the St. Johns River above Lake Harney. You see right now we stand in that action stage, but as we move into the afternoon tomorrow, we're going to be teetering right around that 8-foot mark, which is minor flood stage, and then getting up to there and staying at least through the end of the week. Remember that St. Johns River, it is a slow drain, so we're going to be in this for a while. St. Johns River at Astor, we are heading back into moderate flood stage again, getting back to that 3-foot mark as we move into the day tomorrow, and then staying in that through at least Friday. Once we get into further down the line here back towards Sanford, action stage for the next couple of days, and then you see by the end of the week getting close to that minor flood stage of 5.3 feet by Friday. You see the forecast here is for us to crest at minor flood stage by 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. And finally, for us along the St. Johns River, last but not least, at the land, same kind of deal, that slow rise. So it's not like what we had last night. That's a flash flood. This is kind of that slow rise again on the river as we continue to move things along. So you see there about 4 feet. That's where we're expected to crest, 4.1 feet on the river gauge by the time we get into early Saturday morning. So several things again to watch. Of course, the short term is this heavy rain that's coming through, but the very heavy rainfall again has aggravated the St. Johns, and as it gets into the basin, again, that slow go of things. Most concern, of course, for the rest of the evening is going to be the opportunity for more of the flooding. Of course, it should not be as widespread as last night. It should not be. The rain is going to be heavy, of course, but it's not going to just kind of stay over one area. And again, we see that line developing back towards the Ocala National Forest now through about Sumter County into Coleman, Lake Panasoffkee. We have more heavy rain again, as we were just showing you there, closer to Mount Dora. All of this is sliding from the northwest to the south and east. We'll put a tracker on that for you. We'll kind of loop as we watch the heavy rain, because where we had the heaviest rain last night, of course, that is of most concern. Let me take you a little closer here. Back into Lake County, of course, Asatula, we had the heaviest stuff last night. Of course, right now, I should say, last night, the heaviest stuff was just up the road into Eustis and Mount Dora. And thankfully, as this is coming through, it is much, much lighter. We do have some thunder around, some lightning strikes being picked up on our lightning detection system, but nonetheless, at least we can be thankful for that. No rain, we don't want any of it, but right now it's on the lighter side. Still, though, watching the storms erupting along the front itself, back toward Denellen and then through the villages. So still, probably until 8, 9 o'clock tonight, going to be watching for these storms to kind of work through and then build along themselves to the rest of rest of the evening. We'll take you on to the rainfall side of things, and we're going to look at some of the rainfall rates going on, because that was the main issue last night. I mean, 19 inches of rain in about 6 to 8 hours, going to overwhelm a lot of things. Asatula right now, you see that big lavender color. That's where we have the heaviest rain at the moment. We'll get the dabber back out, and then we'll check a look at that again. 6.5 inches per hour. That's the rainfall rate. So that means if the cell would stay on top of us for an hour, we would pick up 6.5 inches. Again, the good news is these are moving. That front is pushing these along, unlike last night. We have some heavier rain again just to the southeast of us on the southeast side of Coleman tonight, about 5 to 6 inches of rain per hour as well. But again, the best news that I can give you, that's what we're going to be watching. At least these are moving. They will contain some heavy rain, but they're not going to stay along those same areas as we saw last night. Again, over the past 12 hours, certainly most of that fell in that 24-hour span last night. But we are going to be talking about another several hours of scattered downpours and a few thunderstorms, Ginger, watching to potentially aggravate some flooding.
Yeah, a lot happening in such a short span of time,
Yes.
and that's part of the problem. Jonathan, thank you. In Lake County, officials have announced several sandbag locations. There are 6 locations in Sorrento, Umatilla, Leesburg, Tavares, Astor, and Mount Dora. All locations will stay open tonight until 7 or until supplies run out. We'll be right back.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6 at 4 p.m.
Well, tonight we continue to follow the latest impacts of intense flooding that started with storms last night. Communities in Brevard and Lake counties remain underwater right now, and with even more rain on the radar, we're going to continue to cover this story for you. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas joins us now. And Jonathan, it does not look like good news behind you there.
Yeah, it's certainly not. We don't want any more rain. We have a couple of waves. This is the stuff ahead of a cold front that's sliding through. You see the thunderstorms there. We'll take it closer in, and then this is where the front is itself sliding through parts of northwest Marion County now back toward the Big Bend and then exiting closer off the shores of Tampa right now. Where we're watching and most concerned with, of course, is going to be in parts of Lake County where we picked up more than a foot of rain last night, and then also right along the Space Coast. Thankfully, right now, everything is pretty light. The heaviest stuff right now popping up into parts of central Lake County, in and around Lake Apopka, and then back eventually toward Mount Dora. It is certainly much, much lighter than what we had last night that ended up to nearly 20 inches of rain in Eustis. Mount Dora, we picked up 17.86 inches of rain, about 15.5 in Port St. John, Titusville, about 14.5, same for us into Port Canaveral. So again, we are really concerned with those spots at the moment, as again, any even little bit of rain going to aggravate the situation, as a lot of the infrastructure damaged from the heavy rain last night. From Mims to Titusville, Merritt Island, in that deep lavender color, almost that white shaded area, that's where we have the heaviest rain. And then of course for us, where we picked up nearly 20 inches of rain in just about 6 to 8 inches. That worked over a portion of Lake County, again around Eustis and Mount Dora. Obviously, no hurricane came through. So how can something like this happen? It's all about this warm front. It worked its way through from South Florida into Central Florida, and it kind of stalled out. Not only did it re-deliver that tropical moisture back into Central Florida, but this was then the trigger mechanism to not only get those storms rolling yesterday afternoon into the evening, but then also act as a pathway for more of that tropical moisture to come in from the Atlantic and keep those storms building on themselves. Adding to the slow-moving nature of those storms as well. So it was kind of the perfect setup coming together to not only get very efficient rainfall producing thunderstorms, but then to keep them over the same area and then to keep building more over the same area. So that's how we can get into ourselves in a situation that does not take a hurricane to cause some extensive damage and extensive flooding, Ginger.
Jonathan, just terrible. Thank you for that. By far, the worst flooding we've seen has been in Lake County, the county declaring a state of emergency because of all the rain it has gotten. News 6's Emily McLeod has the latest from there right now.
After getting hit with 17 inches of rain, we're getting a look at the damage done here in Mount Dora. 2 major washouts, one on Donnelly Street and another one here on Wolf Branch Road. Lake County issuing a local state of emergency just hours ago. According to the National Weather Service, Mount Dora was hit with more than 17 inches of rain. Several roads were closed overnight and remain closed while crews are out surveying the damage. We spoke to Lake County's Director of Emergency Management, Megan Milanese, and she says she's never seen anything like this.
This is not common at all. This is definitely my first time seeing this kind of direct heavy rainfall in some of these communities. This is a very impactful event and not something that we would typically see at all.
Over in Eustis, they received 19 inches of rain. More rain is expected to come through the area this afternoon into this evening. County officials are urging people to stay off of flooded roads and to follow official updates for road closures and safety information. Now, Lake County has also opened its citizens information line for anybody who would like to report storm damage. That number is 352-253-9999. Reporting in Lake County, I'm your Lake County community correspondent, Emily McLeod, News 6.
And your Brevard County community correspondent, James Barbero, joins us now from North Merritt Island. James, people living there say this has been an ongoing problem. Okay, we seem to be having a little problem getting in touch with James.
An off-ramp of I-95 closed because of all this flooding. I'm at I-95 and Garden Street watching these cars creep slowly through very high standing water at the intersection. It's one of many areas Brevard County says was flooded in the last 24 hours after major rainfall. I also got a close look today at Indian River Drive in North Cocoa. Now, in my experience covering storms on this road, I can tell you it doesn't look as bad as Hurricane Irma did back in 2017. I can remember being at an intersection that was completely washed out then. There is something, though, unique about these latest storms here.
This last month, the water has been worse than a hurricane flood.
Tom Roncesvalles was talking to me about the king tides before Sunday night's rain. Coincidentally, I first met Tom 8 years ago after Irma. Monday, we met again as he cleaned his yard.
As soon as it started to recede, we got hit with 10 inches last night. So it had been 3 weeks underwater, just started to recede, and then we had that
And at the height of the storm Sunday night, Brevard County says there were as many as 2,500 power outages. There's a tax for living in paradise sometimes,
I don't know. It questions your resolve, if it is taxes.
Meanwhile, in North Merritt Island, I just met a Kennedy Space Center worker who's home because he's furloughed from the government shutdown. And he probably didn't expect during his time off he'd be kayaking just to reach his driveway. There are some roads on a list from the county that were previously impassable that I've seen now, which are not. So we're going to update the latest conditions on clickorlando.com. Check there. In Brevard County, I'm your community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
And we would love to see photos or videos of the weather where you live as long as it is safe to do so. You can take out your phone and scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you to the Pin page on clickorlando.com where you can upload the weather near you. You might see your photos and videos right here on TV. And stay up to date with the latest on your local weather by downloading the free News 6 weather app. Search WKMG in the Apple App Store or Google Play. Developing now at 4, a potentially explosive situation put a nearby school on lockdown. Police say what appears to be a mortar shell was located in a backyard of a home off Waltham Avenue that's near Belle Isle. Belle Isle is a little northwest of Orlando International and it borders unincorporated Orange County. News 6 reporter Laverne McGee is live right now in the neighborhood. Laverne, you just got an update on this situation.
Absolutely, and I'm very happy to report that the area is safe. Although there were some tense moments earlier today, I just got word that at approximately 10:45, deputies responded to the 1000 block of Walton Avenue. Take a look, that's right down there behind me, down that street, regarding a mortar that was discovered when a homeowner had someone digging in their backyard. Now, the Orange County Sheriff's Office bomb unit responded to the scene. They took control of the mortar, it says, and the mortar was taken to an OCSO facility where it was rendered safe. Now, just to give you a little bit of history, this area is known for being an old area that had a military training area. So it's not unusual to find things like this. Nobody's found one apparently recently, but it's not unusual. Still, parents and people out here were concerned. Take a listen.
I'm surprised, yeah, but I mean, this, you know, there's Civil War relic things left behind here. You know, I mean, we got them all over the place, so you never know what you're gonna find.
Yeah, we got an email from the principal
saying
a couple hours ago that it was a soft lockdown due to activity outside of the school in the vicinity.
Do you feel like they should have given you more details?
100%.
Because if you'd have known it was a possible old bomb.
Bomb squad.
Yeah, that's what the parents were seeing when they came to pick up their kids from this school right behind me here, Cornerstone Academy Elementary, which is not too far from where that mortar was found. But once again, they're telling me that the area is safe and everything is back to normal. Reporting live in Orange County, Laverne McGee, News 6.
Good to know, Laverne. Thank you. A devastating loss for the entire community at Forest High School in Ocala after an SUV hit and killed an 18-year-old senior while she was walking to the bus stop this morning. Shannon Rushing was described as very personable, bubbly, and well-liked by so many. Ocala police say she was walking to her bus stop. They say she was in the road in the 1900 block of Northwest Blychton Road when a 60-year-old woman driving an SUV hit her from behind. The school district has made grief counselors available for students and staff. They will be there as long as needed. News 6's Mike Valenti will have more on the investigation into the crash ahead at 4:30. Early voting is now underway today in a handful of cities ahead of Election Day next month. Some of the biggest races we are watching are in Orlando, where 3 commission seats are up for grabs. Among them, the District 3 seat. 5 candidates are in the running. This one is significant because current Commissioner Robert Stewart is retiring after 20 years in office. The District 5 race is also big this year, with currently suspended Commissioner Regina Hill looking to win her seat back. She's taking on current Commissioner Shan Rose along with Lawana Gelzer. Hill is still facing trial for allegedly exploiting an elderly woman and using more than $100,000 of her life savings. She was just in court Friday for a hearing on the case, which now likely will not be going to trial until at least early next year. Well, it's a theft that took the world by storm, and now 2 people are facing charges after a jewelry theft at the Louvre. We'll have the latest. And here's a live look at our camera in Daytona Beach. We'll be right back.
News 6 Insider is sponsored by Orange County Library System.
If you are just joining us, we're following major flooding issues in Central Florida, including in Titusville and Mount Dora. Lake County says the rain caused road washouts, including along Donnelly Street. Meantime, parts of Brevard County got 15 inches of rain, leaving homes flooded out and roads impassable. We'll have live reports from the hardest hit areas throughout the afternoon. Now to a story that has taken the world by surprise, an update to the daring theft at one of the world's most famous museums. We now know 2 suspects have been arrested after valuable jewels were stolen from the Louvre in Paris. French officials are not saying if the suspects in custody were part of the group that used this basket lift to steal the jewels more than a week ago. CBS's Holly Williams has what we know tonight.
2 suspects were arrested late Saturday night, according to French media reports. One of them detained just before flying to Algeria in North Africa. Those details have not been confirmed by the prosecutor. The arrests came a week after this brazen daylight robbery, with at least 4 culprits. They used a basket lift up the Louvre's facade, broke in through a window and made off with jewellery once worn by French royalty, valued at over $100 million. The lax security has caused outrage here.
The Louvre management did a very poor job for the last 20 years, not investing in security.
Professor Alain Bauer is a French criminologist who told us those arrested are well known to the police.
The fact that they've now arrested 2 suspects, does that make it more likely that the police will be able to recover the jewels?
I'm pessimistic about the jewels. I'm optimistic about catching all the thieves.
Bauer told us the stolen treasures may have already left France. The gold and silver melted down and the gems cut into smaller, untraceable stones. The French police have a maximum of 96 hours to charge the suspects they've arrested. Meanwhile, at the Louvre, the most visited museum in the world, the scene of the heist has now become a tourist attraction in its own right.
Professor Bauer told us the police are likely offering the suspects in custody lighter sentences in return for information on the whereabouts of the stolen treasure. Holly Williams, CBS News, Paris, France.
All right, we have to talk about what is happening with our forecast meteorologist. Jonathan Kegas joins us now. All that rain so quickly yesterday.
Yeah.
Lake County is really hurting, and Mount Dora especially. You have some more stuff on the radar right now.
We do. We just had a downpour go through Mount Dora. The good news is it's kind of out of there now, and it's certainly not as heavy as it was last night. Now, we still have kind of rounds of rain working their way through central Florida. Another bigger splash, if you will, along a cold front that's hanging back to the north and west. If you want to stay up to date with the weather radar, track these storms alongside me tonight. Download that free News 6 weather app. You get lightning detection, all of the above on that. We have some heavier thunderstorms right around the Lake Apopka area. We had some heavy rain come through, obviously, Eustis and Mount Dora, Umatilla, but also into Apopka. Winter Garden tonight through Oak Ridge. We have some heavier downpours as we speak now. The heavier stuff on the radar tonight, just south of us in Point Siena, certainly some thunder and lightning. You might be hearing that this evening from Point Siena tonight. We are dry at the moment, though. Let me take you back towards the Space Coast. This is the other area that we are really concerned with. Of course, we're watching for the flood potential across a lot of central Florida, but where we had the most rain last night, where we can't take much more, right around Titusville from Merritt Island back into Port St. John. Things are looking okay right now. We are going to be watching those storms, though, try to fire up again just to our west and then push back in. So here we go, 5, 6, 7 o'clock tonight. Again, we are going to watch those storms again, try to fire and then move back down the pipeline as we move into the next couple of hours. Once we get towards about 10, 11 o'clock, most of this stuff is going to be out of here. And then we dry things out for a significant chunk of time through Halloween and beyond. There's your clouds and rain forecast overnight again tonight. Just a few passing clouds in the mix. I do think we'll have more clouds and sunshine tomorrow before drier air really starts to punch back in. The land, good evening. We are back to 85. Leesburg, we are at 79 right now, 75 in Wildwood. As we take a live look, Port Canaveral, Brevard County tonight. Again, we are on the drier side with our Launch Credit Union camera right now. I'm expecting some downpours at least around us along the Space Coast over the next several hours. The airport reporting some shower activity right now. We're back to the middle 80s. As of last check again at Port Canaveral. Tomorrow morning, we're going to start things off into the mid to upper 60s. Some of us in the lower 70s for us in Kissimmee. We are at 71 degrees in Mico. Now here's a look at your afternoon.
Your forecast is sponsored by Renewal by Anderson.
Rain chances, thankfully, back down to 0%. It stays that way for the bulk of the next several days ahead. Temperatures back to the upper 70s to lower 80s tomorrow. As this cold front slices through, again, you see the lightning behind it. The temperature is not going to drop drastically, as you saw there, but we are going to get some drier air back into central Florida, and that's going to really prevent any kind of widespread rain over the next couple of days. That includes Halloween, and we're going to get a reinforcing shot of some cooler air coming in for trick-or-treating. If you're planning on spending the evening outside, temperatures back to the mid-70s for the afternoon. 70s for the afternoon. Rain chances at 0%. Again, we'll keep things mainly sunny into the afternoon and nice and clear into the evening. Look at the difference, though, as we go forward into the work week behind this cold front. Highs on Wednesday, only in the low to mid 70s. Thursday, cooler yet. Temperature is going to struggle to get out of the 60s for highs. And then we're back into the mid 70s again for Halloween. Things are looking very nice. Remember, get that extra hour of sleep this weekend already. The clocks go back an hour, guys.
Already, we'll take it. All right, thank you, Jonathan. After the break, the growing jackpot up for grabs this week. And a live look now at downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6. We'll be right back.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Light Orlando, delivering hope together.
In your health headlines, doctors are finding creative ways to help Parkinson's patients regain what the disease has taken away. In Britain, a musician has found her rhythm again, and it happened right in the middle of a brain surgery. CBS's Tina Kraus has the story.
Making music was at the center of Denise Bacon's life, but Parkinson's disease changed everything. The 65-year-old had to stop playing the clarinet she loved.
It was mainly because the fingers weren't pressing, I couldn't press them accurately on the holes and the keys.
Bacon thought that part of her life was over until she underwent deep brain stimulation at a London hospital. Doctors inserted 2 tiny wires into the parts of her brain that control movement. She stayed awake with her scalp and skull numb to test the results in real time, picking up her clarinet for the first time in 5 years.
So we could test her finger movements and the speed of the movements and make sure that they are no longer stiff, they can do what she wants them to do.
Bacon says she was delighted as she saw immediate improvement during the 4-hour surgery.
It's just amazing to see and feel my fingers moving better and faster and sort of flowing more.
Deep brain stimulation is not a cure for Parkinson's, and it doesn't stop symptoms from getting worse, but it gives patients more control over their movements, helping doctors fine-tune treatment that in some cases can hit all the right notes. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
That is incredible. Well, a big lottery jackpot continues to climb ahead of another drawing. No one won Friday night's Mega Millions drawing, making the jackpot climb to $714 million now. That is the 9th largest jackpot in the lottery game's history and 2nd largest ever in the month of October, in case you were wondering. The cash prize is a nice $331 million as well. The lottery says 482,000 tickets did win some kind of prize in Friday's drawing, but just not the big one. You can watch tomorrow's drawing right here on News 6, right around 11 o'clock. After the break, we continue our coverage of flooding across central Florida tonight, and we're keeping a close eye on the tropics as well, when Hurricane Melissa could be impacting islands in the Caribbean. A live look now over Port Canaveral. You're watching News 6. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're following several top stories right now, the latest impacts of intense flooding across central Florida. It started with storms last night. The latest word, Lake County has declared a state of emergency after cities were hit with up to 19 inches of rain. Donnelly Street in Mount Dora and East Crooked Lake Drive in Eustis are closed due to all that flooding. Our team coverage from Lake County continues in just moments. Communities in Brevard County are also dealing with flooding. Titusville has the worst of it, though, but there is also flooding in Cocoa, Merritt Island, and Port St. John. Several roads are closed, including the I-95 southbound ramp at State Road 406. Indian River Drive, Neptune Court in Melbourne is about under a foot of water. Brevard County is asking homeowners with damage to report it online. And a potentially explosive situation put a nearby school on lockdown. Police say what appears to be a mortar shell was located in a backyard of a home off Waltham Avenue in Belle Isle, located just a little northwest of Orlando International Airport. The Orange County Sheriff's Office bomb squad has now taken the device away. Students at nearby Cornerstone Charter Academy were placed on a soft lockdown as a precaution. All right, we want to take another look at our newest video that's coming in from Lake County. You're about to see Wolf Branch Road, hopefully. The Emergency Operations Center is now at level 2. That means a partial evacuation, but look at this drone video. The mayor of Mount Dora had a press conference just about an hour ago. Here's a bit of what he said.
We had some significant rain damage. You only see one small section behind me. Waterman Village has two basically 40-foot ravines destroyed behind the homes. So we've evacuated close to 20 homes in Waterman Village. Waterman Village took care of their residents and they have them housed elsewhere. But there are currently a number of homeowners that aren't able to return to their homes safely until we get the bank stabilized. That's 5 feet, basically 5 feet behind their houses, drops off 40 feet. It's all wet, and so it's continuing erosion.
It's something we don't need more of is rain, of course. We do have some heavy rain out there. Right now, it's light in and around the Mount Dora area. We're looking pretty good. We do have more rain on the way and expected for the evening. We'll take it closer through where we did have a downpour earlier. Eustis and Mount Dora, we're dry right now. Umatilla, we have some of the downpours still hanging around. The bigger line of thunderstorms is still back off towards the north and west. This is as a cold front slices through, so you can kind of draw that pretty much from Gainesville out back into the Gulf, and that is going to continue to work its way from west to east over the next couple of hours. So we're going to be really watching this until about 9 to 10 o'clock tonight. Again, the rain will be heavy. The good news is that these are moving tonight, unlike last night where they were pretty much parked over one area. We'll take it closer into West Orange County, where we also had some very heavy rain last night through Four Corners, right on the line there. Ocoee, we're dry at the moment. Winter Garden, we have more downpours and thunderstorms just on the south side of town right now. Back to Brevard County, where we are watching things again on the drier side. But again, that next line of rain coming through is something that we do not need. For more on some of the damage that came in from last night's rain event, we're going to send things back out to News 6 anchor Lisa.
We are here live on Donnelly Street. It is one of the main thoroughfares into downtown Mount Dora, and take a look at this road behind me. You can see how it has just caved in. We understand in the middle of the night, one woman had to just abandon her car and walk away from this scene as all of that water, some 14 to 19 inches of rainfall, just started gushing down into that area. City officials saying earlier this road could be closed for a year. Now, the good news, as we've been reporting, no one was injured in this, but we do know at least 12 people did have to be rescued in the middle of the night. And part of the problem was that the flooding happened just so fast and so early in the morning that it caught a lot of people off guard. News 6's Mark Lehman was here earlier this morning to see how people are now doing.
This road here in Mount Dora is where we're seeing some of the most significant damage from the flooding last night. We're being kept about a block away from a large hole in the road on Donnelly Street. It's a near complete washout, and this is one of several areas that had problems after the severe weather swept through.
I've never seen this, and I've been here for 50 years.
Chris Group has lived in Mount Dora for most of his life, and he's astonished to see how much rain was dumped on the area in a short amount of time.
They're saying they got anywhere from 15 to 20 inches of rain, a lot of lightning, a lot of, thunder.
The storm triggering a flash flood warning on Sunday, and now drivers are continuing to deal with the impact. We saw crews inspecting washouts in several spots, including Morningstar Drive in Eustis, Donnelly Street in Mount Dora, and Wolf Branch Lane a few miles away.
I signed a declaration of emergency this morning so that we can coordinate with our state partners, state emergency management, as well as FEMA.
Lake County Chair Leslie Campione says the county has dispatched engineers and workers to some of the hardest hit areas. Some have road closures from washouts, and others are seeing water covering the street.
A lot of road damage, a lot of very full stormwater ponds, but areas where the water is literally just going to the lowest place possible.
And as crews are continuing their response, people living nearby are preparing for an extended impact.
This is a heavy trafficked area, so I wonder if it's going to have an effect on local businesses. Just because people can't get this way, they'll turn around and go somewhere else.
In Lake County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
So back out here live now, I can tell you some more crews just arrived here on scene from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Florida Department of Emergency Management. We understand these are water mitigation specialists coming to check out some of the damage. As I mentioned, the cleanup here is just getting underway. Several people had to actually be evacuated from their homes here inside the Waterman Village because of all of the erosion that took place overnight. Again, some 14 to 19 inches of rain. The mayor of Mount Dora earlier today during the press conference calling this a 1,000-year flood and saying this road behind me will likely be closed for at least a year. We do know that there's a boil water advisory in place for at least the next 48 hours. And so a lot of damage that happened in a relatively short period of time. We're going to continue to stay out here, monitor what's happening, and continue to bring you the latest from Lake County. For now, we do want to send it back to you inside the studio. Ginger?
Just so much going on and so much devastation. Lisa Bell, thank you for that. Hurricane Melissa is slowly making its way toward Jamaica as a powerful Category 5 storm. It is expected to make landfall overnight. Jason Allen is in the capital of Kingston with the latest.
Jamaicans are boarding up homes and businesses and collecting last-minute supplies and food.
Particularly, I was hoping to get some bread, but the shelves are empty.
Hurricane Melissa grew into a monster storm as it churned in the Caribbean over the weekend, headed toward Jamaica. The National Hurricane Center warns it will likely cause life-threatening flash flooding and landslides.
There is a lot of rainfall that is projected. We all have to be very, very careful and be prepared for the worst.
Melissa is expected to be the strongest storm in history to hit this island. Even these early winds, we've already seen some of the metal roofing on homes and structures start to lift and flap in the wind, and some of these areas may see as much as 3 feet of rain.
I think this one is different. I think we're definitely gonna have this one gonna impact us hard.
Hundreds of shelters are open, though most of the people we spoke with ahead of the storm said they preferred to stay at home and protect their belongings.
No, we're not going to go anywhere. Just sitting down and watch everything, make sure everything is working good.
The storm has already been deadly, moving over Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Police there are using drones to deliver supplies to people cut off by flooding. Back in Jamaica, officials warned residents there is nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane. Jason Allen, CBS News, Kingston, Jamaica.
Hate to hear that. And here in Central Florida, we're already seeing people step up to support the people of Jamaica ahead of Melissa's landfall. Tylisa Hampton has that story coming up in just about a half an hour. Well, if you have some crazy weather near where you live, we'd love to see photos or videos of it as long as it is safe for you to capture it. Scan the QR code you see right there on your screen. It'll take you to the Pin It page of clickorlando.com where you can upload the weather near you. You might see those pictures and videos right here on TV. More breaking news now, this time out of Lake County tonight. Emergency leaders in Eustis announcing a last-minute press conference to discuss flooding issues there. We're going to have what they're saying right now. Are we going to that now as we want to listen in? See that they are setting up there and getting ready. As soon as they start that news conference, we will take it live because they have some vital information the folks there need to be aware of. And with the federal government shut down now in its 4th week, the pain is becoming real for many Americans. While both Democrats and Republicans continue to trade blame for the stalemate, nearly 500,000 federal workers missed their first full paychecks on Friday. And this week, thousands more are expected to not be paid. Olivia Rinaldi has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Federal workers lined up at a food stand from World Central Kitchen in Washington, D.C. Monday to pick up donated meals after missing their first full paychecks on Friday.
It's nice to have organizations kind of step up and provide relief and support.
Humberto Lopez has been furloughed from the Department of Defense. With no end in sight, he says the shutdown has left a bad taste in his mouth.
It seems like, the guys across the hill playing games, and the rest of us are hurting.
The largest union of federal government employees released a statement Monday saying it's time to pass a clean continuing resolution and end this shutdown today.
I think it is the breaking point, and so something has to happen and something has to give.
This week, the food assistance program known as SNAP, which more than 40 million Americans rely on, will be cut off. The Department of Agriculture stating bluntly on its website, the well has run dry. Now the Senate is back in session, but there are no signs of a breakthrough. Democrats continue to hold out for those extensions to health care subsidies, but Republicans refuse to budge.
Republicans have shut down the government because they are unwilling to provide affordable health care to the American people.
If this was really what this is about, the Democrats would be voting to reopen the government so that we could actually engage in a serious discussion about rising health care costs.
Adding to this pressure, air traffic controllers will miss their paychecks Tuesday. The FAA says staffing shortages led to major flight delays over the weekend. Thousands more of those delays continued Monday, although some are weather-related. Olivia Rinaldi, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
A source tells CBS News lawmakers are considering focusing on narrower bills this week, including measures to pay air traffic controllers and/or military members. The largest impact of the shutdown is covering paychecks and benefits, but another place seeing impacts are national parks. We'll show you how the shutdown is affecting things at the parks in just about 20 minutes. We continue to follow the significant flooding across Central Florida and the aftermath the storms have left behind. The resources being made available to help protect you and your home. But before we go to break, we want to get you back to that Eustis press conference.
Out there keeping people safe. We had just over 100 calls for service and no reported injuries. So I want to thank everyone for all the work that they're doing out there in the field. So now we're in assessment mode. We are out there assessing damage. Damage has been localized to mostly residential streets. So not a lot of difficulty getting around town. Because of our robust grid system, the streets that are not passable, folks can get around because, again, of our robust grid system. And so no major roads shut down, so for the most part, folks can get around town. We're using a combination of in-house crews and contractors to start working on those streets that are damaged. We have had some washouts of streets. We have the ability to do some repairs in-house, and we've started those. We also have our contractor on board. They're working to safe some areas up and preparing for repairs. For the most part, water and sewer systems continue to function. When you have a 1,000-year rain event, you're going to get some water intrusion into your utility system. But our plants, our water plants, our sewer plants, they keep doing their job, and those systems continue to function. There's really been no loss of power, and so everything keeps functioning, and our residents and businesses continue to have power. We have had some very localized boil water notices. A couple of streets off of Washington. Washington is kind of a major east-west street, and we've got a couple of smaller residential streets
that have very limited in scope boil water notices. Our utilities department is going door to door to let folks know that are affected by that. I do want to give you Lake County's citizen information line. So if anybody has anything to report, if they have any questions, the citizen information line is area code 352-253-9999. And so that's a number folks can call again if they have questions or if they have something to report. We're coordinating with our neighboring agencies, coordinating with Mount Dora, coordinating with Lake County. We've been in touch with State Representative Cobb and Gentry. They're coordinating with State Senator Trudeau, and so we're getting a lot of support from the state. And so again, I want to thank our employees for being out there and protecting our citizens and our businesses. And I also want to thank our neighboring agencies because we're getting a lot of calls and a lot of emails from folks that haven't been as effective asking us if we need anything, if we need any help. But I think we're in great shape. Like I said, we're using in-house crews and our police and fire departments where necessary, and we're using contractors for extra help getting things restored. So we're in great shape in Eustis. Folks can get around town, businesses remain open, and so we're heading back to business as usual in Eustis. So I'd be happy to try to answer any questions anyone might have.
Tell us a little bit about some of the difficulties with handling an 1,000-year flood like this. That's obviously kind of in a way it came out of nowhere.
Sure. So our systems, our stormwater systems, our utility systems, they're really not designed for a 1,000-year event. That said, they functioned as they should. When we, I was in early this morning. I was at 6 a.m. I was, hitting the streets, and the water had receded. The stormwater systems functioned as they were supposed to. And so it's, again, you don't design for that type of system, but our systems handled it. And like I said, we're getting back to business as usual. But you don't, again, we have water and sewer systems that continue to function the whole time. That said, when you get a 1,000-year rain event, almost 20 inches of rain, you're going to get some water in those systems. And like I said, we handled it well.
Tell us a little bit about, I know you talked about some of the washout streets. You guys have a list of some of those streets that are washed out? Or?
We do. That, again, very localized. A cul-de-sac had a washout. Again, parts of our grid system had washouts. But again, you go one block in any direction and you're able to get around no problem. But we do have a list of, like I said, those smaller residential streets that had some washouts.
Are there any concerns with, obviously it's still raining right now, that things could continue to worsen, especially with those areas that have those washouts as well?
I think we're okay. Again, the stormwater systems functioned as they were supposed to, and it's tough to handle almost 20 inches. But the rain event from last night has kind of receded, and I think we can handle the 2, 3, or 4 inches that might be coming tonight. So I think we're in good shape.
Those streets with washouts.
Saying they think they are in good shape. You're hearing leaders from Eustis now in Lake County talk about getting almost 20 inches of rain in a short amount of time, saying they had 100 calls for service, but thankfully no fatalities. Their stormwater system and the sewer system all working properly right now, even after such a big event. They're calling it a 1,000-year rain event, and they've had no loss of power, but they continue to deal with damage mostly to some local roads. We'll be right back.
We are tracking a few nasty thunderstorms tonight. The biggest threat is going to be the heavy rainfall, especially in the areas that picked up heavy rain last night. We have this kind of parade going on just south of Orlando into West Orange County, then also into Southern Lake that extends back into southern Sumter. We never like when we see that happen. That's exactly what we saw last night. Again, this is out ahead of the cold front that will eventually push all this mess back off of our shores. We're really watching some very heavy rain from Oak Ridge back into parts of eastern Winter Garden, southern Ocoee tonight. We'll take it closer in towards Oakland and Winter Garden as well. There's Oakland. We're dry right now on the south side of town, though, just on the south side of the turnpike. That's where the heaviest rain is falling at this time. Lake County, we're doing pretty good. Mount Dora into Eustis, where we had the very heavy stuff last night. I am watching, though, the heavier rain moving on to the west coast, the Gulf Coast of Florida right now. That will be here in the next couple of hours. If that holds together, that's just going to add some insult to injury. Brevard County, we are looking okay at the moment. We do have some downpours, though, getting ready to slice through over the next couple of hours. It's all because of a cold front. It's going to change things up several-fold here. It's going to dry us out for an extended period of time. It also cool us down getting into Halloween. There is a really cool shot here. Those are those thunderstorms that we were just looking at, the jagged kind of edges there as we watch the storms coming from the Orlando metro area. Live look with our Light Orlando delivering Hope Skycam into downtown Orlando. Temperatures back to the upper 70s. Thanks to our director for getting us that shot there. The breeze out of the west-northwest at about 15 miles an hour, again, out ahead of those downpours. Tomorrow, we're back to the upper 60s and low 70s to start the day. Now here's a look at the afternoon.
Your forecast is sponsored by Ramjack.
Temperatures tomorrow back in the upper 70s and lower 80s. Rain chances go to 0%. Here is the latest on Melissa. Again, we are thinking about our friends in Jamaica. You don't get much more impressive than this from a satellite standpoint. Pressure down to 906. The wind up to 175 sustained. We'll talk much more about Melissa through the show.
News 6 at 5 is next. Our team coverage on the impacts of severe flooding in Central Florida continues. We're getting a look at the damage in Lake County. That's coming up.
I've never seen this, and I've been here for 50 years.
Now at 5, a state of emergency in Lake County after more than a foot of rainfalls, closing several roads in Mount Dora and Eustis. Plus,
an off-ramp of I-95 closed because of all this flooding. I'm your Titusville community correspondent, James Sparvero. I'll show you the latest on widespread flooding across Brevard County. Coming up.
Rounds of heavy rain and flooding moved through Central Florida yesterday. More heavy rain on the way. We're tracking that coming up.
tonight, Lake County is under a state of emergency after 19 inches of rain fell in just 6 hours.
That's right. We've got live team coverage for you tonight with crews in Lake and Brevard County, including News 6 anchor Lisa Bell. But first, we want to get over to meteorologist Jonathan Keggis for the latest. Jonathan?
Yeah, and obviously rain is something we do not want or need across most of Central Florida after last night. We have it heavy in spots. The good news is in Mount Dora and Eustis, where we took most of the damage last night, and also for us along the Space Coast, we are seeing things on the drier side right now. We're watching one kind of last push out towards the Florida Gulf Coast and the Big Bend right now. The heaviest stuff is working through extreme South Lake County into southwest Winter Garden, southwest Orange County, towards the southern side of Winter Garden, then south of the Orlando metro area, also East Orange County. We have a very nasty thunderstorm here. Nothing severe, but certainly this is going to have some gusty winds, some very heavy rain. So that's an early heads up in Ormond Beach, especially Daytona Beach, Port Orange, and especially the northern side side of New Smyrna Beach as we are watching this work its way through DeLand. Just a lot of lightning, very heavy rain. You're certainly seeing some lightning strikes even as far south as Orange City, just to the east of Deltona, Casadega area as well, even though the storms are a little bit further to the north and west. And again, the main last push here is going to be working its way off into the Big Bend as we speak. So give it another 4 or 5 hours of some rock and thunderstorms and then one last push of heavy rain. Then we're going to get all this stuff out of here. We'll take you hour by hour for the rest of your evening and beyond, coming up at about 5:17, guys.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. More than a foot of rain fell in parts of Lake County. Mount Dora was hit with more than 17 inches of rain. News 6 anchor Lisa Bell is live in Mount Dora on Donnelly Street. It's near Manor'side Drive. And Lisa, I heard one of the officials describe that street as just gone.
It's awful, Ginger. Donnelly Street, of course, one of the main thoroughfares into downtown Mount Dora. And if you take a look behind me, what was typically for years just a beautiful entrance to the charming town of Mount Dora is now just in ruins. You can see the road gave way down there, washing out in the middle of the night as some 14 to 19 inches of rain came gushing through here. We saw people in nearby businesses trying to clean up parking lots with all sorts of debris left behind, dirt, down branches, leaves, just a real mess in this area. The water rushing through this area so severely that it actually caused some erosion behind a lot of these homes here at the Waterman Village. Several people having to evacuate from their property. We do know at least 12 people had to be rescued from their vehicles in the middle of the night because of this gushing water that came through here, including one woman who abandoned her car here on Donnelly Street. She was able to walk to safety, but crews then had to pull her car out of that ravine earlier today. I asked the mayor what his thoughts were when he finally was able to get his first look at the damage after sunrise this morning.
After seeing the rainfall, it didn't surprise me too much. I mean, you're going to get washouts, but it was a bit shocking. Having, like I said, when I was here at 10 years old in 1970, this was the one big hill in the area. So, but all the water obviously went right down there and started to just too much water. You can't plan for a 1,000-year flood.
And I can tell you, we've been out here this evening. Crews from the county, the state, the Army Corps of Engineers have been on scene here on this side of Donnelly since about 4:30 this afternoon. And once again, they're walking back down. They sent up a drone about 30 minutes ago to get a better look at that damage. But people here, are being kept away from this road. They're being kept out of their homes until they get a better idea of just how long this is going to take to clean up and whether the ground is really stable. Of course, we heard Jonathan Kagas talking about a few more showers still headed this way. I can tell you it has been sprinkling a little bit out here tonight. Now, this is not the only road that was damaged in those overnight floods. Our Emily McLeod continues our team coverage from Lake County, from Wolf Branch Road, where there was a washout there as well.
Yeah, hey, Lisa, and people are certainly feeling the frustration with this washout here on Wolf Branch. I want you all to see exactly what we're talking about. There's road closed signs all up and down Wolf Branch because of that right there. Now, because of the damage, Lake County did issue a local state of emergency earlier today. Several roads were closed yesterday and remain closed today as crews, like the ones you see out here behind me, begin to work to try and fix them. Now, we do want to show you some drone video that was taken over Wolf Branch Road earlier today. It's currently shut down from the Britt Road intersection down to Round Lake Road. Now, Wolf Branch, just like Donnelly, is a major thoroughfare here in Lake County, and this road closing a little more than a year after it washed out during Hurricane Milton is creating some frustrations for people who use it regularly.
This is what we have to deal with. Now we have to go to 441. Now 46 is closed as well. So it's just been, it's not nice. Yeah. Not nice. We're not real happy about it at all.
Just a little bit ago, we heard from the mayor of Mount Dora, James Homage, during a news conference. We asked him about Wolf Branch Road and how the city will move forward to get it fixed.
Well, that's not a city-maintained road, so it's county-maintained. They're out there now working on it. I was out there to see it. It's a problem that we have constructed roads and houses in floodplains and it was dry for a while here for a couple decades, and people started building where they shouldn't.
Now, earlier today, we went to the other side of the road closure to get back to where we are now, and it took us 21 minutes with all of the surrounding road closures. So really adding a lot of extra time for people. Back out here live, crews are slowly beginning to pack up their work for the day. We've seen a couple trucks pack up and go, but you can see there's cars, even with the road closed signs, that are still trying to come through and use this stretch of Wolf Branch. Now, hopefully State Road 46 will be reopened soon and will provide some relief for people who can't get through here on Wolf Branch. But we will also be following up with Lake County to see their plans for rebuilding this section of Wolf Branch Road and how they plan to make it more resilient so this doesn't happen again. Reporting live in Lake County, I'm your Lake County community correspondent, Emily McLeod, News 6.
You and I were at that press conference around 3:30 today here on the other side of Donnelly when we heard from the mayor talking about how, at this point it's really too soon to tell just exactly how long these roads are going to be out of commission. But he says at least a year. It could be some time before, certainly not before Christmas, before they really see some major changes. We went ahead now to Brevard County, where our James Sparvero is standing by, another area that was hit hard by heavy rains overnight.
Hi, Lisa. North Merritt Island is prone to flooding. There's a history of flooding here. In fact, here on Colony Park Drive, some neighbors have told me what you're seeing now with the road underwater, it reminds them a bit of Hurricane Wilma 20 years ago. If we have my video queued up, I'd love to show you how I met a Kennedy Space Center employee today. He's furloughed, so he's home, but he probably never expected while he's home to be kayaking just to get to his driveway. He told me his house, his yard is about 2 feet covered in water. Now, the flooding is widespread in Brevard County, some 15 inches in Titusville, for example, where the mayor now has declared a state of emergency. Earlier today, I was at I-95 and Garden Street, where an off-ramp is closed because that's how deep the water is there, probably the deepest water I saw today. North Indian River Drive in Cocoa is another area prone to flooding. I saw an entire road wash out there back during Hurricane Irma in 2017. Today, it's not quite as bad, but people told me the flooding overall has been pretty bad in the last month when you combine the king tides and then getting all that rain again last night. The good news in Brevard County is no injuries have been reported, and if you can't get your kids to school, the district is accepting that as an excused absence. Live in Brevard County, I'm your Merritt Island community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
James, thank you. And many of you have shared your weather pics and videos with us. Thank you for that, and please do so only if it's safe to do that. Head over to clickorlando.com/pins and upload your pictures and videos that way.
Well, the holiday travel season is fast approaching, but many Americans are worried about the cost.
Ahead at 5, when experts say is the best time to book your flight. Jonathan.
That storm we were just tracking in Volusia County now officially has a severe thunderstorm warning on it. You see the deep dark purple, so all the lightning there might have some small hail and also some potentially damaging winds coming into Samsula, Port Orange, Ponce Inlet, Islesboro, New Smyrna Beach, and Edgewater. We're going to track this storm a little further when we come back on the other side of this break.
Plus, Hurricane Melissa moves towards Jamaica. See how one local organization is rallying to help those impacted by the storm.
Today's Port Canaveral Cam is sponsored by Launch Credit Union.
With Hurricane Melissa expected to make landfall in Jamaica very shortly, the National Weather Service warns of life-threatening flash flooding and landslides. Jamaican organizations here in Central Florida are now doing what they can to try to help those in the Caribbean.
Yeah, your West Orange County community correspondent Tylisa Hampton spoke with an organization about how they're collecting money as some of their family members are trying to brace for impact.
I spoke with those from the Jamaican American Association of Central Florida. They tell me they are deeply concerned about what this hurricane could do to Jamaica. And I also spoke with a woman who is in Jamaica right now. She tells me that she's trying to do everything she can to prepare, but she's not sure if it will be enough. How scary is it?
We're all very anxious.
Speaking to friends and loved ones while they still can.
Hi there, how are you?
With a Category 5 storm expected to impact parts of Jamaica, the Jamaican American Association of Central Florida is donating to those on the island.
What do you find is usually needed most? Drinking water for many persons and food supplies.
Nadine Wright lives in central Jamaica, seeing wind pick up and rain continuing to pour down.
What's just overall your biggest concern?
The roads being blocked. I'm also concerned about telecommunications, so we won't know what's happening with our friends and relatives.
The organization's president's thoughts turning to her grandfather who's on the island.
He's 90.
Are you at all nervous for him?
Very, very.
Hurricane Melissa bringing the threat of flooding and landslides. Nadine is trying to prevent floodwaters from coming in her home.
I have gotten my awnings dropped. I have battened doors.
But even after that, there's still the unknown.
And I'm thinking, what else could I do? Really does look as if this hurricane is going to be devastating.
Those with the Jamaican American Association of Central Florida, they will accept any donation that you can spare. And they also say that they are planning a prayer vigil in the future. Reporting, I'm News 6's Tylisa Hampton.
Your heart just sinks when you hear the forecast and that Melissa is a powerful Cat 5, even a weak Cat 5, and they have nowhere to go.
Exactly, and to hear officials say that, there's nowhere to go, but it's nice to see organizations like that helping people.
That is for sure, yeah. We're dealing with some issues of our own, not quite as severe, but still, we've got a lot of rain in our area and areas hard hit.
We do, yeah. We actually have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. We talked about the one in Volusia County for us there. Now we have one in Southern Lake in Western Orange. This includes Winter Garden and Ocoee. A lot of colors on your screen tonight. That just shows you what's going on through Central Florida. But the darker reds here, we have this part of the cell where you see that purple shaded color, that lavender color, just south of us in Bay Lake and Orange Mountain. That is what's sliding through. If you have the free News 6 weather app and you're in those areas, you likely got that alert from the National Weather Service. You can track these storms if you don't have the app with the free News 6 weather app. And again, we're going to be expecting that coming through parts of West Orange County in about the next 15 to 30 minutes. Let me take you back out here and let me get some of these colors off the map here. That green that you see there, that is the flash flood watch that remains in effect through the rest of the evening because of the very heavy rain. Now we're watching this guy here. This one has a severe thunderstorm on it as well. Also going to watch that because it looks like it's trying to do some crazy things here. Let me pull out my telestrator and just show you what's going on. That little hook there, it's a supercell thunderstorm, so we're going to see if there's any kind of rotation on that as it slides through. Again, severe thunderstorm warning right now, no tornado warning at this time. Let me just pause this real quick for you, and we're going to just get into this in real time and look and just see if there's anything going on. Not seeing anything on the velocity side of things, which is good. It might just be a weird appendage. Sometimes they do that, so I'm not seeing any rotation in there, but that, from a reflectivity, that actual radar perspective looked concerning. Certainly the strong winds of a straight line variety coming through Samsula, also New Smyrna Beach, Ponce Inlet, early heads up in Port Orange. Again, the next 25 to 30 minutes, these are going to be on your doorstep. I'll turn the traditional radar back on. Again, you see that lavender color. That's where we're likely going to be seeing some at least small hail, and hail tracker picking that up for us. You see the lightning strikes a little bit better when you turn off the radar portion. We'll get the dabber in here and we'll isolate that to see what the computer thinks is going on. Hail size about the size of quarters. You see 1 inch there. The potential for severe hail is about 30% inside of that. And again, that lavender color would suggest that we do have a decent opportunity for some hail coming through parts of Volusia County over the next couple of minutes and over the next 20 to 30 minutes. Now here's a look at your forecast.
Your forecast is sponsored by Payne Law.
Temperatures over the next couple days hanging around 80 degrees on Tuesday. All these storms are as a result of a cold front coming through. So we're talking temperatures by Wednesday into the low to mid 70s. We are at 71 degrees on Thursday. Note the morning lows as well. We're starting in the 40s and 50s. I think once we get into Thursday morning, Halloween, of course, is on Friday. Temperatures are very nice if you like it on the cooler side. Again, that might be the coolest morning of the bunch as well, with most of us, again, in the 40s and 50s. Once we get into the weekend, it's looking very nice. Again, this cold front, the drier air behind it, is going to start an extended stretch of very dry weather and very comfortable weather, certainly very much cooler weather as well, hour by hour for your Halloween. Again, taking you back into the mid-70s. Trick-or-treating, we're talking about air temperatures back into the mid-60s by 8, hanging around 60 degrees by 10. Of course, we are watching those 2 nasty cells across central Florida and the potential for more flooding as a result of those storms. We'll keep you posted over the next few minutes, guys.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. And this holiday season, home may be the destination, but getting there could take some strategy.
Yes, indeed. Fewer Americans are planning to fly this year as prices push people to rethink travel. If you do plan to fly, though, experts say there is a certain time to book to save money. We'll explain coming up. A live look now at downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6 at 5. We'll be right back.
All right, guys, we continue to track more severe thunderstorms across central Florida. Just hot off the press, we have a new warning now issued for Brevard County. That's going to be with this cell coming through here. One of the things we always watch, too, you see that faint green line coming through? That's the East Coast sea breeze trying to join the party, and that helps to invigorate things a little bit further. So we're going to be watching for some really nasty stuff right along the I-95 corridor. It is already pretty nasty. I'll turn the warnings back on so you can actually see where the highlighted polygons are. I know that there's a lot of color around, so we'll walk through it together here. Working out of downtown Orlando, look at all the lightning here. This is the storm that has prompted the severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to roll until, that's the flood watch that goes until 8 o'clock tonight. There's the severe thunderstorm warning All of these are until 5:45 this evening again as we continue to watch these storms work their way through parts of Central Florida. Let me clear out of all of this stuff and turn off the warning so we can see what's going on. Let me back this, zoom out for you, and you see this is where we kind of got our situation yesterday with all of these training thunderstorms. We have storms just kind of building back on each other. I'm going to go to our Melbourne radar. That's the National Weather Service radar site that we are working out of right now. And I want to just check some of the threats that are rolling on. Not detecting any hail. We are seeing some purple show up, indicating we might have some small hail again south of Orlando. That includes us in Oak Ridge. Also getting into the attractions area in southwest Orange County. A nasty thunderstorm. We are included in that severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to go check the rain rates on this because this is the issue that got us into trouble yesterday. And you see that deep lavender color across a lot of Central Florida. I'm going to turn off the lightning so we can see what's going on a little bit more. And we're going to go back in toward the Four Corners area right on the Lake Orange County line. We're going to pull out the dabber here. And again, hanging around the Lake Orange County line, the rainfall rates of about 7 inches per hour, meaning if that storm stayed there for an hour, we would pick up about 7 inches of rain. We'll back up the other severe thunderstorm warning that also has prompted the opportunity again for some damaging wind gusts in addition to the heavy rain. We have, again, that same like lavender color popping back up, indicating those extreme rain rates once again. You might be hearing some bells and whistles go back off due to the fact that we have more warnings being issued. Let me go back to the home radar screen here. And sorry to make you dizzy. We're watching this. Let me turn on, make sure we don't have any updates to these warnings that have popped up. So we have the severe thunderstorm warning in Volusia County. This is going to be the nasty storm that's going to be into Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach, and Ponce Inlet in about the next 15 to 20 minutes or so again. So make sure you're prepared for some potential damaging wind gusts, certainly some very heavy rain, lots and lots of lightning. We'll turn the lightning tracker back on again. Our next severe thunderstorm warning was the one that we were just operating out of in Brevard County. This is moving out of southern Orange, northern Osceola toward Titusville, Port St. John. Again, we're going to be watching for any kind of shenanigans with that. When the East Coast sea breeze gets involved, that's whenever we're talking about the potential for these things to really perk up. And then the final severe thunderstorm warning that we have now, this is going to be south of Claremont. This does include us in Winter Garden, Windermere. We are involved on this. Dr. Phillips, the worst of the storm. We're right on the tail end of that yellow shaded line that you see right there. But that continues to move on through. Let me just go back into our velocity mode. This is where we can kind of see, number one, if there's shifting winds, but we can also estimate what those winds are. And you see the bright green colors in there. That's where we're looking for the strongest winds. Again, on the perspective there, it doesn't look like it's that strong. We're looking at it. There's different tilts to a radar per se. So that's why you don't see exactly what's happening there as we're kind of tilted way up into the sky. But some strong winds in that bright green color that is moving through parts of Central Florida as we speak. So again, just to kind of recap real quick, we have 3 active severe thunderstorm warnings, one on the Southern Lake, southwest Orange County line. We also have another one right here, this yellow shaded polygon. I know there's a lot going on the radar tonight, but that includes us just east of the Orlando metro area, right through the Osceola County line, including us in Port St. John on the west side of Mims and Titusville tonight. And then we also have the nasty thunderstorm that's moving in Volusia County. That includes us in Port Orange, New Smyrna Beach, Edgewater, just south of us in Daytona Beach. I'm going to watch these storms for the next few minutes, of course, until they're done. Right now, we'll send it back over to Ginger and Lewis.
A lot to watch, Jonathan. Thank you. An associate of suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcus Lopez has been arrested. We'll have a live update coming up.
Welcome back to News 6 at 5:30. We're keeping an eye on some intense weather across Central Florida.
That's right. Take a look at this. This is a look at our launch credit union, Port Cam at Port Canaveral, where there is a severe thunderstorm warning right now. And you can see those dark clouds hanging around. So we want to get right over to meteorologist Jonathan Keggis. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, we're watching that big line of thunderstorms that has prompted several severe thunderstorm warnings. We're watching a weakening trend on the Volusia cell. Notice the lightning kind of pulse back down a little bit. Still some nasty rain getting ready to move into Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach, Ponce Inlet, and Port Orange as well. We'll turn the warnings back on so you can see what's going on. And you see that yellow shaded polygon right there, and actually just went away. So the Weather Service just canceled that severe thunderstorm warning for Volusia County. Still a nasty thunderstorm pushing through. We'll take you back down closer to Titusville. Again, we just took a live look at Port Canaveral, officially outside of the warning. Nonetheless, just off towards the north and west, you see things kind of blossoming here. The darker reds indicating where we have some of that stronger wind potential as we get ready to move into Bellwood, Port St. John, Canaveral Acres. That's going to be within the next 15 to 20 minutes that this cell slides into us. So an early heads up, they might already be hearing the thunder. Certainly, if you're looking west, you're going to see the dark clouds out there. Back toward the Orlando metro area, some very heavy rain on the east side of Winter Park, closer to Alafaya, moving in toward Lake Pickett and Bithlo tonight. Again, we're just on the periphery of the warning, but some heavy rain is getting ready to slide into the north and west. The Orlando metro, we're doing all right tonight. We have just some light rain right around the metro area. Gotha, Windermere, we have some light to moderate rain. You see the darker reds, though, sliding through on the south side of town. That includes us and Dr. Phillips. We have the potential for some very strong winds as well, getting ready to push through. Let me turn this to now. Let me stop the loop. It looks like they've also allowed that severe thunderstorm warning to expire as it's kind of all congealed, so some better looking there. Again, very heavy rainfall, so going to be watching for the potential for flooding in South Orange and South Lake County as these storms are going to continue to build pretty much over the same areas tonight. Let me take it closer in. East of Bithlo, closer to Christmas, where we are included in this warning. We're going to work out of the Melbourne radar. Again, that's the closest one to this cell. Let me just turn on the velocity signature here. And the strongest of these winds where you see that bright color. So this is kind of if you're taking the 528 to the split. If you were driving, say, to Kennedy Space Center or to Port St. John, Canaveral Acres, there's the split of the 528. So right now, the worst of the weather just kind of riding the 528 as we speak. I'll turn the actual radar back on again. Don't see any rotation in there or anything like that. So that's a good thing, but always watching when the East Coast sea breeze gets into play and it's late into the evening. You can see that green line right there. That can add some of the shifting wind. So that's something that I'm going to keep an eye on over the next 30 minutes to an hour as the East Coast sea breeze kind of fires back through. Let's take a look and see if the computer's popping up any kind of shear markers, and we're looking good on that front. Again, this is mainly going to be maybe an isolated damaging wind gust with these storms that are pushing through, and then also the potential, of course, as we've seen already, for some flooding. The last thing I'll say about the flooding threat here, these storms are at least moving, and while the rain is very, very intense with these, I'm not expecting them to stay on one spot. Still, though, at least the good news is we're avoiding Mount Dora and Eustis, and right now we're avoiding parts of North Brevard, although we're getting back close to Titusville. I'll be watching for you guys in Titusville for the potential for more flooding over the next couple of hours, guys.
What an active weather night, Jonathan. Thank you. Lake County today declared a state of emergency after a large amount of rain fell in a short period of time yesterday, washing out roads and flooding neighborhoods in Mount Dora and Eustis.
News 6 anchor Lisa Bell joins us live on Donnelly Street near Manor'side Drive. And Lisa, people living in that area are dealing with a lot.
Yeah, Lewis and Ginger, this was one of the hardest hit areas in Mount Dora. Take a look behind me at Donnelly. Again, it's like the main thoroughfare, one of the main thoroughfares into downtown Mount Dora. But you can see it has been washed out, and city officials tell me it will likely be a year before this road is reopened. Now, right alongside it is the neighborhood of the Manors at Waterman Village, and we understand about 20 homes had to be evacuated because of all of that rainwater that just washed out the area behind it. The good news is there are no reports of injuries at this moment. We did hear from the Mount Dora Fire Chief, Mr. Hightower, Joe Hightower, earlier today, talking about some of the rescues they had to make in the middle of the night.
During the peak of the event last night, we did have multiple rescues in progress. Actually, here behind us was one, had several on Pine Avenue, and then in other parts of the city. Fortunately, we had no injuries or fatalities. So, outside of just the rescues, that's all.
Now, what happened here on this road behind me, a woman actually had to abandon her vehicle when that water started gushing down the road. She was able to walk to safety, but her car actually fell down into that hole. They were able to pull it out earlier today. But again, this road will remain closed for many months to come. News 6's Troy Campbell is in Eustis, where several more roads are also closed because of all the rain and flash flooding.
Yeah, Lisa, also pretty heavy hit here. So just moments ago, we were inside City Hall here behind me, and we spoke with city leaders here in Eustis. Now, thankfully, they say they do believe that the worst is over and they don't expect much of tonight, just a few inches of rain. So some of the highlights of what they outlined for what happened last night is we heard from the city manager saying last night parts of Eustis received more than 19 inches of rain in a 4 to 6 hour period. Officials say that resulted in about 100 calls for service into emergency services. We're told this includes several vehicles stalled in flooded roadways. They do say they did make some life-saving calls, but thankfully no one was injured. The city says it's now working to assess all the damage from the flooding. They describe most of the damage being limited to residential streets. Some roadways, we're told, have been reopened, while others will require an outside contractor to come in. The city manager says currently there are detours in place for all of those affected areas. Officials also say there has been a limited water boil notice in the area off of Washington Street. So they're having crews go door to door to notify residents in that area. Take a listen to more of what the city manager has to say.
So our systems, our stormwater systems, our utility systems, they're really not designed for a 1,000-year event. That said, they functioned as they should. When we, I was in early this morning. I was at 6 a.m. I was, hitting the streets, and the water had receded. The stormwater systems functioned as they were supposed to. And so it's, again, you don't design for that type of system. But our systems handled it, and like I said, we're getting back to business as usual. But you don't, again, we have water and sewer systems that continue to function the whole time. That said, when you get a 1,000-year rain event, almost 20 inches of rain, you're going to get some water in those systems. And like I said, we handled it well.
And a testament of the collaboration, city officials say they received calls from other agencies in other areas that weren't affected with flooding, offering up their resources to help them in all of this. But again, thankfully, they say the worst they do believe has passed. They are, of course, closely monitoring any impending storms here this evening. And of course, we will continue to be out here. Live in Eustis, Troy Campbell, News 6. Back to you, Ginger.
All right, Troy, thank you. New tonight, an associate of suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez has been arrested, accused of money laundering.
News 6 investigator Mike DeForest joins us live in the newsroom with the latest developments. And Mike, what are you learning?
Hey, Lewis, the same statewide prosecutors that have accused suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez of taking part in a multi-million-dollar illegal gambling operation have now filed charges against one of Lopez's associates. We're just now learning that Krishna Diakaran was booked into the Lake County Jail on a warrant for money laundering. Now, Diakaran, who has since been released from custody, has pleaded not guilty to that charge. Details of his alleged crime were not immediately available, but authorities have previously accused the Windermere businessman of owning and operating several illegal gaming rooms in Lake and Osceola counties. Now, investigators say Diakaran paid more than $600,000 to suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez. Now, Lopez is accused of profiting off of his elected position while offering protection to an illegal casino in Kissimmee. Now, Lopez, who was suspended by the governor after his arrest in June, has pleaded not guilty to racketeering charges. Meanwhile, Lopez's estranged wife is facing new criminal charges. Robin Severance Lopez was rearrested on Friday, accused of providing false information on court papers related to her first arrest back in June. Now, authorities say Severance Lopez was also involved in that illegal gambling operation. Like her husband, she has pleaded not guilty. Now, there have been a lot of moving parts in this sprawling investigation. With this latest arrest, there are now 3 people currently awaiting trial. 3 others and other defendants recently entered into plea deals and are reportedly cooperating with prosecutors. Reporting live in the newsroom, Mike DeForest, News 6.
Mike, you have been all over this case. Thank you so much. Well, it is a somber day here at News 6. We learned today that our longtime political analyst, Dr. Jim Clark, passed away last week.
Yeah, Jim was not only a senior lecturer in the history department at the University of Central Florida, but he was also a beloved mentor and a friend to many of us here at News 6. If you ask anyone on the News 6 team, they'll tell you how much Jim's insight and kindness touched their lives.
This morning, our guest, Dr. Jim Clark, UCF history professor, News 6 political analyst. Great to see you, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
Jim Clark was a familiar face on News 6.
I would text him or send him an email and essentially say, I'm putting the bat signal up. That meant I need Jim Clark to come in and talk politics.
Anybody who was touched by any controversy lost. Remember, he inherited huge inflation. The Florida Supreme Court has the power to take them off the ballot.
He was more than just an expert. He was also part of the News 6 family.
Jim Clark, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
My son was born 2 years ago. He did send me a card, and it touched me greatly. It was unexpected.
We talked about family. We talked about how his family was doing, how my family was doing. He loved being a grandpa. It's one of his favorite things, and he would often show me pictures. And his son, he was so proud of his son, being an ESPN analyst.
His son, Kevin Clark, made this post on social media today, saying in part, I lost my dad. Jim Clark was an old-school newspaper man and a legendary UCF history professor.
He loved UCF so much, and he cared so much about the university and wanted to get that name out.
Jim started at the University of Central Florida as an adjunct professor in 1986.
He was amazing. He could hold a room. He would normally have 300 or more students a semester in his classes.
To keep 300 freshmen interested in history for 3 hours at a time that Jim did is just incredible. Jim Clark was an institution here.
In that time, he wrote 10 books, including Presidents in Florida, and most recently, A History Lover's Guide to Florida.
He was just a nice guy to be around, and we're going to miss him.
Boy, that's a tough one. I have to say, when I moved to Florida in 2007, I didn't know Jim. I bought one of his books because I wanted to learn about Florida history, and someone said there's a professor at UCF that you should read his book. And he was kind enough to sign it for me, and some other works too. And I'm going to have a Diet Coke for him tonight because he was always present with that Diet Coke in the newsroom. He was a really good friend.
You know, we called on Jim all the time, and he was such a wealth of information. He talked about very serious topics, but he never took himself too seriously. He was always had a smile, always cracking jokes. So Jim will definitely be missed.
We love you, Jim.
We'll be right back. Tonight, a guilty verdict in the murder of a young mother shot and killed and left in a parked car. Jurors just decided the person who pulled the trigger was the man she was expecting a child with.
Prosecutors argue Donovan Faison wanted the 18-year-old to end the pregnancy, and when she didn't, he murdered her. Your Seminole County correspondent Catherine Silver is in Sanford with the jury's verdict.
You could hear the deep breaths taken in the courtroom by Kaylin Fiengo's friends and family as the verdict was read out loud. After a trial that started over 2 weeks ago with jury selection, Donovan Faison was found guilty on all counts.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder.
An overwhelming moment of relief for Kaylin Fiengo's loved ones as the jury's verdict was announced.
We've been waiting a long time for this.
An emotional end, almost 3 years since Fiengo was found shot and killed in Sanford's Coastline Park. Investigators say Donovan Faison murdered her because she refused to terminate her pregnancy.
Were you supposed to meet up with her? No, I wasn't supposed to meet up with her. I was supposed to do nothing with her. We didn't have no conversation of meeting up, nothing.
During closing arguments Monday, prosecutors played body camera video of Faison's first interview with detectives.
Lie after lie after lie after lie. You can read it line after line.
And presented months of messages, including this exchange where they say Fiengo told Faison she was pregnant and his response was abortion. Faison's attorneys poked holes in the police investigation and argued he may have made mistakes, but he is not a murderer.
But at best, you have evidence of a man that's cheating, of a man that possibly didn't want to have another child. There's no evidence of him being in the car. There's no evidence of him coming around the front. There's no evidence of her reaching for a purse. There's no evidence of him pulling the trigger.
Prosecutors say the motive was undeniable, and after Faison's world fell apart when his girlfriend found out he had lied, cheated, and got another girl pregnant, he planned and executed Fiengo's murder.
The defendant thought about it. He devised a plan to kill an innocent victim. He carried out the plan in cold blood.
Fiengo's family says she will be missed and she will be remembered for choosing her child.
What she did was brave regardless, right? She chose her child at the end of the day.
Now that Faison has been found guilty, he could be sentenced to death. The judge ordered both the state attorneys and the defense attorneys to be back at this courthouse on Wednesday to start the death penalty phase. In Seminole County, I'm Catherine Silver, News 6.
Catherine, thank you. We have already been dealing with some flooding in Central Florida. Unfortunately, nobody wants to hear it, but we have some more rain we're dealing with. Jonathan?
Yeah, we do. Some pretty heavy stuff out there as well. The good news is, at least relatively speaking, this is south of us in Mount Dora and Eustis, where we really don't need the extra stuff. We did have flooding across parts of West Orange County yesterday, so this is not wanted as well. But the heaviest rain now falling pretty much on the south side of Winter Garden into Oak Ridge, Windermere. We are getting it on the chin right now. The also good news, relatively speaking, is that at least all the warnings, the severe thunderstorm warnings for wind damage potential, have been allowed to expire. I'm watching the super heavy stuff again. We had flooding on Merritt Island last night. We had more flooding closer to Titusville. Right now, we have some very heavy rain moving from west to east coming at us from Bithlo. I'm going to pause the loop here and you just see how heavy the rainfall is right now. We're going to work out of the Melbourne radar again. We're going to do a few things here. Again, we have the regular traditional reflectivity on, as we always call it, but I want to check out the rainfall and the rainfall rates and see exactly where the heaviest is. Again, where you see that lavender color popping up, that's where we're going to have the best potential for some flooding. In Port St. John, again, it's coming down really hard once again. Let me get the dabber back out. We're going to inspect in there. And again, anywhere from 6 to 7 inches of rain per hour. That's if the storm were to stay there for an hour. The good news is these are a little bit more progressive than what they were last night. So they are moving at a better clip. So they're at least getting out of the area. I'm going to turn on our flash flood tool here and see if it's pegging anything. And the good news is really the only spot, and this is kind of brand new data just coming in, where we have this yellow area. That's the best potential right now for flash flooding. That product that I'm showing you here takes into account how wet the ground is and how much rain is falling at this hour. We're going to turn the rainfall rate back on and see exactly where that is. And the good news is that the heaviest rain is staying out of there. So we're going to zoom things back out. We're going to go back to our home screen here so we can show everybody what's going on. We'll turn the traditional radar back on. And the good thing is what we're seeing from Ocala back to Denellen and to the Gulf Coast is that line of thunderstorms really losing its punch tonight. So once we watch all of this junk kind of fizzle out and move off of our shores, we are going to see things really start to pipe down, and not only for the rest of tonight, but also into the week ahead. So we're going to have a big time opportunity to dry things out. But again, right now, especially south of Orlando, Titusville, Mims, Scottsmore, and then getting closer to Oak Hill, that's where we have the strongest stuff. It's all because of this cold front. Yesterday's stuff was right along the warm front. That's why it was slow moving. It brought back that humid air mass that those storms had the opportunity to take advantage of. Now we're going to get a clean sweep. That front is helping those storms to develop, but it's also going to send them packing as some drier air comes in behind that front. Ominous sight here as we take a look at downtown Orlando with our Light Orlando Delivering Hope Sky Cam tonight. Air temperatures back to the low to mid 70s. The airport is reporting that thunderstorm that I just showed you. The breeze right now out of the northwest at about 10 miles an hour. Tomorrow, we're back to the upper 60s and lower 70s for morning lows. Now here's a look at the afternoon.
Your forecast is sponsored by Publix.
We're going to cool down a little bit back to the upper 70s and lower 80s. We're going to keep the clouds for the most part, but rain chances go back down to 0%, at least more clouds and sunshine tomorrow. Then we have drier air surge back in. The other big weather story is not coming to Florida, but if you have friends and family in Jamaica, you know what we're talking about here. This is Hurricane Melissa. It's a Category 5 storm tonight. Winds 175 miles an hour, expected to continue to move to the western side of the island of Jamaica. Again, latest forecast track from the Hurricane Center. Not really anything has changed over the past few days, but still expected to come ashore on the western side of Jamaica as a Category 5 hurricane. Temperatures over the next couple of days. Look at this, guys, behind the front. Lower 70s on Wednesday. We'll struggle to get out of the 60s for highs on Thursday. It's going to be a crisp trick-or-treat Halloween, guys.
I just want to get through today.
Yes.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Well, breaking records and making history in the space race.
How SpaceX just topped NASA's entire shuttle program in less than a year.
Coming up in the morning, fighting the rising cost of healthcare.
Why some fear the price you're going to pay next year is going to skyrocket, and what you can do right now to try to ease the blow on your wallet.
Plus your weather and traffic every 10 minutes.
We'll see you for News 6 Mornings starting at 6.
SpaceX is breaking records on the Space Coast. The private space company's 89th launch of the year from Brevard County over the weekend was the company's 136th of the year nationwide, California included. This year's Falcon 9 launch has already surpassed the entire flight history of NASA's space shuttle. Sunday's mission from the Cape sent 28 more satellites into orbit, breaking the company's previous record. In fact, a Falcon 9 is set to launch on Wednesday morning, just before 9. Over on clickorlando.com/space, we've compiled a list of upcoming Space Coast launches so you can know what to expect.
Coming up on News 6 at 6, we're following flood concerns as parts of Central Florida deal with severe damage and double-digit inches of rain overnight.
Plus, how you can help neighbors in Jamaica prepare for the impact of a Cat 5 hurricane as Melissa gets ready to make landfall. This is a live look now at downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6. We'll be right back.
More than a foot of rain fell in just about 6 hours yesterday across portions of Central Florida. Another round of heavy rain is moving through. We are tracking those storms in a few minutes.
We experienced complete washouts and mass system failures due to these heavy rain.
I signed a declaration of emergency this morning. He's been here 30-something years and he's never seen flooding like this. God forbid, I needed to get out. There's no way.
I've never seen this, and I've been here for 50 years.
You're watching News 6 at 6. And we start tonight with breaking news as Lake County flooding has caused major damage and washouts in places in Mount Dora. Roads are closed and a boil water notice is in effect now for the city after the severe weather dropped up to 19 inches of rain in some parts of Lake County. That's a lot of rain in a short period of time. So we're trying to look at some of the damage people are dealing with as they are getting ready. They were getting ready this morning, and we're learning some people also needed to be rescued and even sheltered because of the storms. We have team coverage for you in Lake County, but first we're going to check in with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas as rain is falling right now in parts of Central Florida. Is it falling in Lake County?
It's the southern side, so it is away from Mount Dora and it is away from Eustis, the hardest hit areas last night along the Space Coast, although we are getting some near Titusville and Merritt Island. We do have a brand new flash flood warning in effect, though. I was showing you our radar tool just a little bit ago, and it highlighted southwest Orange County and southeast Lake County for the potential for flash flooding. And then a few minutes later, the flash flood warning became official here. This is just north of Four Corners. Here is Windermere and Dr. Phillips for reference. Here is Epcot for more reference. The heaviest of the rain has moved out of the warning area, but flooding again going to be a concern for a short amount of time here. This is going to be on Avalon Road. If you live there or know anybody around there, you might want to let them know if they have the New 6 weather app. They would have gotten a warning. They would have gotten that alert on their phone if they are in this area for sure. Back closer towards the Four Corners areas and into southern Lake County, County Road 474. We are included in this as well. Citrus Parkway will take you back up closer to Meade Street and Basswood Lane. This is that in southeast Lake County again. So just watching for the potential for some flash flooding here as we do still have some of the heaviest rain working from west to east tonight, pretty much in a line, although the heaviest rain has been pushing off towards our east. Elsewhere, we have some heavy rain again. Watching for you guys, especially in Titusville. Would not be surprised if we do have more alerts coming for you from the National Weather Service as, again, this massive rain here, this big blob of thunderstorms kind of congealing together is happening over Merritt Island in Titusville, where we already picked up a ton of rain last night. I'm going to put this loop on pause here. I want to look at the rainfall rates here. We'll go to a rainfall section. The rainfall rates, again, have been impressive, of course, yesterday and then again today. The biggest rainfall rates are right now on Merritt Island, just to the east of us at Port St. John. And then in eastern Orange County from about Bithlo to Christmas. All of that, though, is heading where we had some of the bigger damage last night, the bigger rainfall totals over a foot. So really going to continue to watch that for you guys again. And over the last hour or so, picking up several inches of rain using the flash flood tool. Again, not seeing any other areas pop up right now. That will likely change. I'm watching these storms closely for you guys as they move pretty much west to east tonight. We'll have much more coming up at about 6:17, Ginger.
Jonathan, thank you. Tonight, Lake County is under a state of emergency because of the weather we saw over the weekend. News 6 anchor Lisa Bell is in Mount Dora with a look at what neighbors are dealing with and what happens now.
I'm News 6 anchor Lisa Bell here on Donnelly Street, one of the main thoroughfares into downtown Mount Dora. But as you can see, it is now washed out and shut down. City officials say it will likely be closed for more than a year after 14 to 19 inches of rain came gushing through this area, washing out a huge portion of the roadway. I can tell you at least 20 homes had to be evacuated at the Waterman Village nearby because of all of this erosion that was caused by those flash floods in the middle of the night. We also understand at least 12 people had to be rescued due to the flooded streets in the area, including one woman who had to abandon her car here on Donnelly Street in the middle of the night. Fortunately, she was able to walk to safety. Her car had to be pulled from that hole. Earlier today, I asked the mayor what he thought when he was able to see the damage after the sun came up early this morning.
After seeing the rainfall, it didn't surprise me too much. I mean, you're going to get washouts, but it was a bit shocking. Having, like I said, when I was here at 10 years old in 1970, we used to, this was the one big hill in the area. So, but all the water obviously went right down there and started to, just too much water. You can't plan for a 1,000-year flood.
Now, again, officials tell us this road and many other roads that have been washed out in Lake County will likely be closed for several months, if not more than a year, because of all the damage here. We also know that there is a boil water advisory in effect for at least the next 48 hours until they can test that water and make sure it is safe to consume. The cleanup just getting underway here in Lake County. Of course, we're going to continue to stay out here, monitor it, and bring you the very latest here on air and on clickorlando.com. Lisa Bell, News 6.
News 6's Emily McLeod is live in another part of Lake County hit hard by flooding.
Yeah, Ginger, you're exactly right. I'm here on Wolf Branch Road. There are road closed signs all up and down it, and I want to show you all why. We actually moved You can see the washout here on Wolf Branch a lot better from where we're standing now. And people are really feeling the frustration because this is the exact same part of Wolf Branch Road that actually washed out during Hurricane Milton last year. Now, because of all the damage, Lake County Emergency Management did issue a local state of emergency. Now, several roads were closed on Sunday and many remain closed today as crews began to try and fix it. Now, we do want to show you some drone video that we took earlier today above Wolf Branch Road. It's currently shut down from the Britt Road intersection down to Round Lake Road. Wolf Branch is a major thoroughfare here in Lake County, and this road closing a little more than a year after it washed out during Hurricane Milton is creating some serious frustrations for people who use it regularly.
This is what we have to deal with. Now we have to go to 441. Now 46 is closed as well. So it's just been, it's not nice. Yeah. Not nice. We're not real happy about it at all.
We do have a little bit of rain out here right now, and earlier today we went to the other side of the road closure, and to get back to where we are now, it took us 21 minutes with all of the surrounding closures. Now, we were out here earlier and there were crews out here, but many of them have left. But as you can see, that washout really impacting this part of Wolf Branch Road, a road that a lot of people use to get from one side to the other. Now, hopefully some of the roads that are currently closed will begin to reopen and will soon provide some relief for this area. But in the meantime, we will be following back up with Lake County officials to ask them the plans for fixing this section of Wolf Branch Road to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. For now, reporting live in Lake County, I'm your Lake County community correspondent, Emily McLeod, News 6.
All right, Emily, we're going to send it over to Troy Campbell, who is live in Eustis for us tonight. Troy, what are you seeing out there?
Well, Ginger, thankfully, we heard from officials here in Eustis who say they do believe the worst of the rain and the flooding is already over, but they will continue to monitor it here into the evening. So we did hear from the city manager. So some of the highlights, he says that they received up to 19 inches of rain period last night. Officials say this resulted in about 100 calls for service into emergency services. We're told this included several vehicles stalled in roadways. They do say some calls were life-saving, but thankfully no one was injured. The city says it's now working to assess all of the damage from the flooding. They describe most of the damage being limited to residential streets. Some roadways, we're told, have been reopened, while others will require a contractor to come in. City manager says there are detours in place for any of the affected areas, thankfully. So officials also say there's been a limited water boil notice in the area off of Washington Street. We're told crews are going door to door in that area, making sure homeowners are aware. And again, they add that their stormwater system was not designed for a 1,000-year flood, but they say it did effectively help drain some of the water that receded. Take a listen.
So our systems, our stormwater systems, our utility systems, they're really not designed for a 1,000-year event. That said, they functioned as they should. When we, I was in early this morning. I was at 6 a.m. I was, hitting the streets, and the water had receded. The stormwater systems functioned as they were supposed to. And so it's, again, you don't design for that type of system. But our systems handled it, and like I said, we're getting back to business as usual. But you don't, again, we have water and sewer systems that continue to function the whole time. That said, when you get a 1,000-year rain event, almost 20 inches of rain, you're going to get some water in those systems, and like I said, we handled it well.
And the city says they also received phone calls from other areas, other cities and counties that weren't affected by flooding, offering up their resources in this cleanup. But again, they do say they believe that the worst of the flooding and the rain is over. However, they will continue to monitor it into this evening. And of course, we will continue to stay out here. Live in Eustis, Troy Campbell, News 6. Back to you.
Troy, thank you. Brevard County was also swamped as more than 15 inches of rain fell in Titusville. Several neighborhoods were underwater up and down the Space Coast. Your community correspondent, James Barbero, continues our team coverage starting in Titusville.
An off-ramp of I-95 closed because of all this flooding. I'm at I-95 and Garden Street watching these cars creep slowly through very high standing water at the intersection. It's one of many areas Brevard County says was flooded in the last 24 hours after major rainfall. I also got a close look today at Indian River Drive in North Cocoa. Now, in my experience covering storms on this road, I can tell you it doesn't look as bad as Hurricane Irma did back in 2017. I can remember being at an intersection that was completely washed out then. There is something, though, unique about these latest storms here.
This last month, the water has been worse than a hurricane flood.
Tom Roncesvalles was talking to me about the king tides before Sunday night's rain. Coincidentally, I first met Tom 8 years ago after Irma. Monday, we met again as he cleaned his yard.
As soon as it started to recede, we got hit with 10 inches last night. So it had been 3 weeks underwater, just started to recede, and then we had that.
And at the height of the storm Sunday night, Brevard County says there were as many as 2,500 power outages. There's a tax for living in paradise sometimes, huh?
I don't know. It questions your resolve, if it is taxes.
Meanwhile, in North Merritt Island, I just met a Kennedy Space Center worker who's home because he's furloughed from the government shutdown. And he probably didn't expect during his time off he'd be kayaking just to reach his driveway. There are some roads on a list from the county that were previously impassable that I've seen now, which are not. So we're going to update the latest conditions on clickorlando.com. Check there. In Brevard County, I'm your community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
To recap, parts of Brevard and Lake counties took the brunt of Sunday's rainfall. Both counties have opened up sandbag locations. Lake County is operating a helpline. They want to know about any problems around your home or if you have any questions. You can call the number you see right there on your screen. It's 352-253-9999. Brevard County officials are asking anyone with flood damage but just not in immediate danger to report it online. We've posted the link on clickorlando.com. Lake County also signed an emergency declaration this morning so the county can coordinate with state partners. The city of Mount Dora was placed under a precautionary boil water notice due to widespread flooding and potential impacts to the water system there. Now, we put that information on our website, clickorlando.com. You can also download our News 6 app to stay up to date on future warnings, and you can sign up for any alerts. We're staying on top of some major flooding hitting parts of Central Florida today and the latest weather warnings that could add to the problem. Coming up, where you can get sandbags to protect your home, and a check on your forecast next.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Advent Health, helping the communities we serve to feel whole.
Flooding in parts of Central Florida has washed out roads and bridges and sent water into neighborhood. Here's a look at what some people had to deal with in Mount Dora. Lake County announced a state of emergency, and people are under a boil water order for at least the next 48 hours. Officials say some people had to be rescued and taken to a shelter overnight as heavy rains dropped around 17 inches of rain in just a matter of hours. In Seminole County, there are now 2 places where you can get sandbags: at the Old Geneva Volunteer Fire Station and Sanford Public Works. Both sites are open from 8 in the morning until 7 at night and are unstaffed, so you need to bring your own shovels. The county is keeping a close eye on river levels as well. You can follow the latest flooding and weather news right now on clickorlando.com. You can also download our News 6 app to stay up to date from the comfort of your phone. Well, it's a devastating loss for the entire community at Forest High School in Ocala. A woman driving an SUV hit and killed an 18-year-old senior while she was walking to the bus stop this morning. News 6's Mike Valente is sharing the story of a young woman with so much ahead of her.
A student here at Forest High School, 18-year-old Shannon Rushing was known for being personable and bubbly, and she was well liked by many.
That's according to a spokesperson with Marion County Public Schools. He spoke to school counselors who say that Shannon recently joined the Jesus Club on campus and was always encouraging others with her positive outlook. Ocala police say Shannon was walking to her bus stop here and was in the roadway on the 1900 block of Northwest Blitchton Road when a 60-year-old woman driving an SUV hit Shannon from behind. A driver did stay on scene. A neighbor shared with us a picture of the SUV in question after the crash. A police spokesperson told me it's too early to talk about any potential charges right now, but did say that the driver is cooperating with the investigation.
Back here outside Forest High School, the school district has made grief counselors available for any students and staff who need them. The spokesperson says those counselors will be here as long as needed. Reporting outside Forest High School in Ocala, I'm Mike Valente, News 6.
All right, just a sad story there. All right, time now for a look at your forecast with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas, and that radar is really very active behind you, Jonathan.
It is, yeah. We need it to pipe down over the next couple of hours. I do think we will see improvements, but right now we have some very heavy rain in areas that we do not need it. This is coming from northern Brevard County, where we had some flooding yesterday. More than a foot of rain reported at parts of Merritt Island through Titusville. The heaviest rain, it's moving. The good news is that this is quickly going to get out of here, so it is going to improve. We just need to get through the next 30 minutes to an hour or so until we get this off of our coast. Kissimmee, we have some very heavy rain right now. Let me take you back down into Kissimmee. This is moving right on into St. Cloud over to Lake Toho, Deer Park, Holopah. Good evening. We are dry right now, but given it 30 minutes, give or take, and all of this is going to be heading over towards us in town. We'll take you back out again, and we're watching the last push of some downpours here from Bushnell back to Leesburg, the Villages into Ocala National Forest. That is the cold front that is coming through. That's going to give us the nice clean sweep and get all of this stuff off of our coast. Daytona Beach to land, we're looking good now, but again, some light rain still in our future over the next couple of hours. Satellite Beach to Palm Bay, Melbourne, we have a couple of downpours around, a few lightning strikes getting going just to the west of us in Melbourne now. So again, heads up as we watch for those storms to build back from the west to the east over the next couple of hours. Again, we'll get our last push closer to about 8 o'clock as those storms that are over Kissimmee, St. Cloud right now, heading to Deer Park and Holopah, pushing towards I-95. Taking you through the rest of the evening, they're 7 to 8 o'clock. I think future radar hitting the nail on the head right now as most of that, again, gets out of here by about 9 to 10 o'clock tonight. There's 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. We get that clean sweep, at least in terms of the rainfall. Still hanging on to a few extra clouds, though. Once we get towards the afternoon, I think we're in and out of some clouds. And then really once we get to Wednesday and beyond, that's when we break out the sunshine. Watching some of those storms here. Cool shot in Daytona Beach as we have the lowering there as we're watching more of those downpours again to our south and west. That's a live look again in Daytona Beach this evening with air temperatures back to the upper 70s. There's the cold front pushing through. Drier air is going to filter in and allow our temperatures to start cooling down. We're back to the upper 60s right now in Denellen. That's mostly because of rain-cooled air hanging around 70 in Kissimmee. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Sponsored by Strata Air Conditioning and Heating. AC emergency? You ought to call Strata.
Temperatures back to the upper 60s and lower 70s to start tomorrow, back to 69 in Oviedo to start the day. Then we're back to the upper 70s and lower 80s, so a little cooler tomorrow. We'll be in and out of the clouds again. Rain chances, that's the big deal, though. That's back down to 0 after a few active days. And then the real chill settles in as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, and Halloween into your upcoming weekend. All this blue, that's the temperature anomaly through the 1st of November. We are going to be way below normal in the temperature department. And again, that really arrives Thursday and into the upcoming weekend ahead. This is what you're going to wake up to on Friday. 40s back into play in Ocala, in the Villages, lower 50s in Orlando, mid 50s along the Space Coast. This is the season-changing front. Lower 70s on Thursday, Halloween on Friday. We're back to the mid 70s, staying into the upper 70s on Sunday, guys.
All right, we've been waiting for that. All right, thank you, Jonathan. Ryan's here now with sports, and UCF is getting ready to hit the road.
Yes, indeed, Ginger. The Knights were off last week, so they got to kick their feet up, watch a little football, but now it's back to the business of Big 12. Plus, we're going to talk Florida, Georgia just ahead. And before we go to break, the Magic hope to get back in the win column when they open their 5-game road trip tonight in Philly. We'll have highlights at 11. We'll be right back. Welcome back. UCF is back from break. The Knights, coming off a bye week, turn their attention to a trip to Waco to face Baylor Saturday at noon. Now, the Knights used much of last week for self-critique, but also squeezed a little work in on the Bears.
It's good and bad when you got extra time to look at a team, because you can go too deep into the rabbit hole and overthink things. At the same time, you get a lot more time to study them and really get to know them and try to put your team in the right plays on both sides of the ball to win.
It is Florida Georgia week. The Gators and Dogs will kick things off Saturday at 3:30 from Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville. Gator officials encouraging fans going to the game get there early because of all the construction at the stadium. Now, fans can log on to the website at the bottom of the screen right there for parking information and maps. Here is Florida interim head coach Billy Gonzalez on what is always a special showdown.
When you come over the bridge and you come over the river and you can kind of see it, all of a sudden you kind of just see the fans, and it's they've got their tailgate set up, they've got the boat set up. It's a really cool atmosphere. I'm getting chills thinking about it right now.
I'm getting chills too. I tell you, the Miami Hurricanes are tied for 10th in the latest AP Top 25. The Canes will take on SMU in Dallas Saturday at noon, and Florida State is in action. They will host Wake Forest Saturday night.
All right, Ryan, thank you.
All right, guys, we're still tracking some strong thunderstorms. Main threat with these are going to be heavy rain. I'm really watching northern Brevard County because we are getting slammed again after getting a lot of rain last night. The good news is these are moving at a pretty good pace, so they're not sticking right on top of us. But we all know what any additional rainfall on top of what we saw, it's not going to take much. We are streaming right after this show on YouTube and on News 6 Plus at about 6:45-ish, getting the stream set up. So we're going to have that Q&A and some of the interaction there. If you have any questions or want to know what's going on in your town with some of these nasty thunderstorms around, we are going to be tracking those storms for you throughout the remainder of the evening, guys.
Yeah, but I bet people will have a lot of questions about Hurricane Melissa for you as well.
Yes, we're going to take talk a lot about that. Some crazy stuff with Melissa tonight for sure.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. More news at 9 on clickorlando.com and the News 6 Plus streaming app. Until then, have a great night and be safe, everybody.
Sure, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I'll try to find what mission that was that they had to bail, because we have their flight pass in the computer. So I'll see if we can. I'll try to find that. Peace out. Oh yeah. Wait. I lied. Go switch that.